Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
Don't lose to these teams. It doesn't matter that you beat these great teams. Don't lose to the crappy teams in your division, and we won't have to talk about whether or not you deserve to be in the playoffs. Now, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, and I'm not saying there's an argument, but how quickly life hits you. Because now Nebraska basketball is firmly in the Alabama situation of, well, yeah, we did lose to USC, and we did lose to Rutgers, and we did lose to Maryland, and we did lose to Iowa. But, man, look at our wins. 4 wins in the Big Ten, 3 of them against ranked teams at the time, UCLA, Illinois, Oregon. Probably if you were to stack up the best 4 wins of the Big Ten, Nebraska's probably got them along with Indiana. So it's just like, it's just really, really funny how this team is so inconsistent and so bipolar. But when they do the things...
They draw you back in. Just when I was ready to be out.
Oh, yeah.
When I was starting to think about what portal additions will happen next year.
19-8 after the next 5.
You know how frustrating it is, though, where you watch the game and everything that, like, not just the media and not just the fans, but like what Fred has been screaming into a microphone for 6 weeks, being, well, we have to have, Bryce has to play good. Jawan's got to be the secondary guy. He's got to go to the basket, and we have to play better defense. If we do all those things, we're going to win games. And whoop-de-doo. I mean,
what if he also said, we're also going to have some poor 3-point shooting from our last 2 opponents? And you went, let's just talk about the positives. And it happened again last night. We'll get into that because, again, it was a great weekend. Creighton.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. With Stephen Ashworth's bank 3 to win the game in a game where they'd just thrown the ball away and Jason Green makes an incredibly heady play to call a timeout while he was in the air.
That was incredible.
And then they get the shot to win, and they've won 7 in a row, and you're like, Omaha won on Saturday night against Denver. And then what happened again yesterday in Eugene, where I love them jerseys. Nebraska should make those their permanent
Nebraska
road jerseys. Yeah.
I like the duck
Those
ones.
were good looking. You didn't like those?
Are you joking me?
No, I liked them.
Oh, wow.
You did not like
I'd have
them.
thought
I
you
liked
hated them.
No, why would I hate them? They look
well,
great. They reminded me of like the red version of the old New Jersey Nets.
You are
okay.
Back when Dr. J was playing.
You're
them.
all right.
Stars
I'm
up the
with you.
side.
You are joking.
No. I like those jerseys
You are
they were wearing.
fully in the minority here.
Why? I like those jerseys.
They were ugly. Riley Wooster.
You're ugly.
I didn't know this was an option. I turned on the TV. I thought the edible had gone weird. I was like, wait, what are those they're wearing? What's going on?
They look terrible. Riley Wooster looked like he was playing average Joe's dodgeball. I mean, with the red sleeves coming out.
They had lost 6 in a row until Thursday. They should wear those then.
I like
them.
They're going to have to wear
like
them
the little
tomorrow.
diagonal patch and like the number down here.
Well, I know what
it's
their February Black History Month jersey.
Yes.
But I like the jersey.
Okay.
I like the jersey.
Okay.
Why you didn't like the jersey?
It looked like it was made out of clip art. It looked like they were like, how can we get an N and a number on this jersey?
It was better than what Oregon was wearing.
It reminded me of baseball, actually.
Yeah, I don't know
baseball uniform.
I don't know what Oregon was wearing either. I said to somebody, I go, this is a terrible jersey matchup.
But as a duck.
But I know that Oregon, like, that's what they got to do. Like, that's their brand. They wear a bunch of weird stuff, and we're supposed to act like it's cool. I don't know. The shtick, I'm kind of done with the Oregon shtick and the Jersey shtick and all that stuff. It's just a shtick at this point.
The court's not as
There's no
loud
substance to it. It's just like, oh, look, we wear a different color with a different looking duck. We're cool.
Their shtick with basketball is, I think,
no one cares. Is that their shtick?
They have some talent, but man, they are soft.
Their shtick is that nobody gives a damn. Is that their shtick?
They did during shout. Then it got quiet again.
They did shout, and I go, wow, there are people in the building.
Mm-hmm. And then suddenly, okay, sit down.
I didn't know that there were people there.
Yeah,
watch the game.
Wait till Nebraska plays at Washington on Wednesday night.
Friends and family.
A lot of tickets to be had up there in old
play the cricket bumper?
Seattle. All right, welcome in, everybody. Off and running on a Monday. Hope everybody had a good weekend. We're now into February. Pitchers and catchers reporting some places. End of the week. You know what? That friggin' thing yesterday, that little rodent out in Pennsylvania, which I still, when I lived out there, I wish I would have gone to go see it.
I'm surprised you didn't.
Well, I had an opportunity. We went to the town, but of course the rodent was not having his day. I just want people to know that put a lot of stock into Puxatawny Phil and predicting things. He's got a 35% rate that he's right on.
He's a middling 3-point shooter.
That's not very good. Now, if
Baseball, it's 350.
If in your terms, if you shoot that against Nebraska basketball, you might win a game.
You might win a game.
But if you're a rodent and your predictability is only 35% correct, we give him too much run. But every year, February 2nd, we care what this thing says. You know what it said to me? It said that we're closer to baseball season. And we're closer to March Madness. And we're closer to football. And we're closer to the Super Bowl.
Is that what you just say as every day passes? We are just closer to the things that make you happy?
We are.
Yeah.
You're never going to be younger than you are today.
It's a good point.
Why
Words from Kevin Harlan. I'm not taking
Is that
credit.
on your wall next to Live, Laugh, Love? Is that?
No. It's literally was told by Kevin Harlan the other day.
I can't wait for it to warm up so I can wear that shirt again.
Dude,
that was yesterday.
Wait, I was told that today was supposed to be freezing cold and absolutely terrible, and the cold front's coming back, and we're not going to be enjoying fool's spring anymore. And I walked outside today, and I thought it was absolutely nice.
Yeah, you're going to be burning
nice.
up in here later.
No windy, no wind.
It's
38 degrees. Rory won the Pebble Beach Pro-Am yesterday. He's going to play with my emotions for the next 12 months.
Oh, that he'll win a major?
Yeah. That he'll win a major, and I'll probably bet that he'll win all 4 majors like I did last year and the year before that. Like, I put a bet for all 4 majors that he would win it because I'm like, this is the one.
You put $1 down?
No, you put $10 and like most – dude, golf is like 30-1, 50-1 for the favorites, like to win. Well, unless you're like Scotty Scheffler after that incredible run, like it got down to 10-1.
Didn't when they play at Pebble Beach, that usually gets more run. That was quiet this weekend.
It was very quiet. It was very not a lot of people talked about it, but I was watching it. It was on the TV.
We're one day closer to the Masters. See,
we are one day. Oh my God,
that's absolutely true. We are about 2 hours closer to Evan Bland joining us.
Well done.
Matt Rule spoke on Saturday. Said some interesting things.
Man, those press conferences they get long, 31 minutes. I mean, he gives a lot, man.
Well, I think there was a state of college football more than the state of the Nebraska football
That's
team.
a good point.
But I think Rule has taken upon himself to be a mouthpiece for the sport, but then interject where Nebraska fits in, which is he does that really well. He kind of weaves those together. So Evan will join us coming up at 8:30. Jacob Bigalow stops by at 9. Talk about Nebraska basketball.
Wow. What a group. What a team. What a turn it around. High tide.
4 quad win-ones. They also may have a big reason why they have turned things around is quite simply they have some guys that this is the end of the road for them and that they may have woken up and said, you know what? I don't want to go out this way.
Yeah.
And number 4 and number 3 appear to like each other again. They appear to be playing well with each other. So whoever took each other's toys, they've given them back, and now they enjoy it. And the peacemaker on the floor is Mr. Energizer Bunny Sam Hoiberg, who at the end of the year when they have that little banquet, I don't have a vote, but I'm going to tell you this. Bryce Williams is like back into the let's talk about him being an all Big Ten guy. The most important player on that roster is Sam Hoiberg. That's the award I'm going to give out.
Do you think you would have said that 3 years ago?
No, because he was at the end of the bench. Actually, he was sitting in the hallway, where the Huskers come in and off the floor at PBA. He had like a seat right there next to the security guard.
This might be harsh. He was a joke. It was a joke. It was.
I wouldn't say a joke.
No,
that's not the right word.
Because he's at the end of the bench. He's the coach's son. He's 5'10". He's shorter than everybody. He obviously isn't the best athlete right on the court. He's not getting any run. People are assuming, well, it's very clear that Sam Hoiberg is on the team because of his last name and not because he's a good player or anything like that. Then there were times where he would get into the game at Pinnacle Bank Arena when it was garbage time, nothing was going on, and the student section would all cheer. They would all clap. They would all yell or whatever because, oh, my God, Sam Hoiberg, like it was like a Izzo's son situation. And then what happens? Emmanuel Bandamo gets hurt, and then it turns into, oh, my God, we're actually playing Sam Hoiberg consistently for minutes to the point now, 3 seasons later, you are standing up here saying that he is the most important player on the team, and I totally agree with you. He is the glue of that defense, and now he's inserted himself into like a point guard role too.
A couple of things from the weekend. We'll talk more about Sammy Hoiberg. As really good. A couple of my friends go, hey, baby Hoiberg's in the game. I'm like, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah. What was a better commitment tweet of all time surrounding an addition to the Nebraska football roster? The poem or what Rocco tweeted out yesterday? Did you see the Rocco Spindler tweet that he is committing to Nebraska?
Talk about catering to the crowd. Absolutely love it. Run the damn ball, Gary. Run the damn ball.
No. I think there's more in there. Why don't you read the tweet? Describe the tweet for people that haven't seen the tweet, because some people might be blocked from you on Twitter. Some people may have gone over to Blue Sky, and it's not over on Blue Sky. It's still on X.
Tweet. I'm looking it up now. If the internet could load.
Here. Let me, I'll get you here.
No, I got it.
I don't know what your computer's doing over there.
Yeah, I was like, we have working internet here.
My.
Okay, so it is. He
Here
tweets it out yesterday, and it's rule spelled.
Rule number 1. Oh, I didn't see that.
Run the damn ball.
There you go.
So we could. So
People were
I
fully
can
Huss.
explain the story of how he ended up at Nebraska, because there's the Matt Rule component in there. But so you remember he had the poem with Dylan Raiola.
Yes.
Okay, he had the poem, and
Yes.
you're like, and then his commitment. Like he was going to commit to Nebraska, kind of got blown up because people were taking a video of him when he was shooting it on the field and all that kind of stuff. This one, it was trending on Saturday from the Michigan people that he had committed to Nebraska. But this kind of, still took some people by surprise. But this might be the best tweet of them all in the days of people committing with tweets, because you not only put Rule and you spell it Matt Rule's last name, number one, run the damn ball, but then you have committed. You have yourself wearing the 50 jersey, but then you have 2 pictures when you were a little kid of wearing, I don't know, is that a onesie? A Nebraska onesie?
It's sick. It looks nice.
I mean,
if that was an adult size, I would buy that.
I mean, 1890 might kick in another little cash for having the best commitment tweet.
Here's my thing. Like, if I'm, he's from Michigan, so clearly, I don't know if he was a Nebraska fan or if he grew up rooting for Nebraska or whatnot, but there's the baby picture of him in Nebraska gear. I wonder nowadays, if you are a parent and you want your kid to be an athlete, would it be a really good move to buy as many different college football memorabilia as possible, and then take pictures of your kid, and then
I see what you're doing.
And then that way, when they become an athlete and they commit, you could be like, all right, pull out that Marshall picture I have of you when you were 1 year old. Hey, you're going, well, I don't know if you can go to LSU because we don't have a picture of you in an LSU hoodie, but we have a picture of you in a Florida t-shirt, an Alabama little rocker. We got everything for you. It might be a good investment. Make a classic. Oh, my God.
Now,
I mean, the people that...
Dad was an NFL guy, so I don't know. Maybe he was thinking about that.
Maybe he was, but look at this.
That would be crazy if he is.
I mean, that's just a hell of it. That is literally college football catering 101 right there. You cater to what the fans want. They want to run the ball. You cater to the rule number 1, nice little pun, your coach, and then you get the nostalgia of you wearing a Nebraska Cornhusker gear when you're a baby. Hey, it's great. It's great stuff. It's 101. They should put this in a rule book. This is how you do it. This is how you commit.
So part of the reason he ended up at Nebraska, and I think, we spent way too much time on him. But now we'll spend a lot of time on him because he could emerge as Nebraska's best offensive lineman. There, I said it.
Easily.
Him taking other trips, Pittsburgh, Virginia, Indiana, the Michigan interest, all of that, I actually think made Nebraska look better. I'll explain that a little bit later. But at the end of the day, the reason that he came back to Nebraska, and no one's overlooking this, he got paid. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
The family is floating the mill, okay, that he got paid. And that's fine. It's not my money. I don't care. Okay, he's here for 1 year. Again, people get they corkscrew themselves into the ground about how much you're paying somebody, what is reported out there. Okay, you get all upset when Nebraska loses an offensive lineman and they're like, well, they didn't pay $2 million. Yeah. Then if you hear, oh my God, they paid $1 million for an interior offensive, not your money. Who cares? Okay, that's Nebraska's money. They can do what they will with it. But the guy started. He played over 60 snaps in the national championship game a couple of weeks ago. So I'm good with this. But they fell in love with Matt Rule. There is no real reference to Donovan Raiola during this, but they fell in love with Rule and his message and the NFL floating out there. They also fell in love with the facilities. Now, I know in this day and age of NIL that facilities have you got to have them, but they've taken less of an importance. But Nebraska's facilities are, jaw-dropping. Yeah. Things you see that you don't see elsewhere. So those kind of tied together. That's why I say he came here. You thought he was playing Nebraska against other schools, and maybe he was, but he never came back to Nebraska to say, hey, Virginia or Pittsburgh offered me this. What do you got? I think they used Nebraska as the base and said, what do these other schools have that Nebraska doesn't? It's going to help me get to where I want to go. And they kept coming back to Nebraska has this, this, and this. They don't have that, that, and that. And I think they were more comfortable with the head coach. And so at the end of the day, it was actually, I think it makes Nebraska look better that he kept his options open and looked around and came back to a place where, what's the old adage? You leave campus in a portal and you don't have a yes.
Yeah.
You're like, that guy's not coming back. This is one of those rare times.
Look, Matt Rule goes and says during his press conference that, yeah, they were losing out on guys. And yeah, there were dudes that they were up until the very end and they didn't end up getting them. But it was good that they were in the conversation with those teams. It's good to be in the conversations with the Georgias, with the Michigans, with the top dogs. And, despite the fact that they're losing some of those battles, it's good that they're there and they're being considered by these top prospects. This is one of them where you won one. You finally did it. And they've done it before and they've done it in the past, but they beat Michigan and they beat these other schools. And look, you got what you paid for, right? He's got a really good connection with Matt Rule. That's great. You're paying Matt Rule a lot of money to be the head football coach and win you football games and recruit in this manner. And you paid a lot of money for that facility, right? To show it off, to use it in recruiting, to tell people, hey, that facility, they wrote down everything possible. They go, what are the best things that we can have in a facility in college football today? And they wrote all those things down, and then they bought all of them, and they put them in that spot, and they made it look really, really good. You got what you paid for.
There's a situation. So I asked this question on Saturday. And by the way, shout out to the Average Joe Sports Show podcast, because all four of us at 10:30 yesterday said Rocco is in for Nebraska. I know there were some crystal balls elsewhere. So him and Coogan, who both transferred from Notre Dame, I think wanted to go to Michigan. I don't know enough about the academic calendar at Michigan, but Michigan wanted them to play to be there for spring ball, and they couldn't make it work.
Oh,
so that actually played into. It helped Indiana for Coogan, and then helped Nebraska for Rocco.
Yeah.
So I don't know what happened at Michigan, but apparently they wanted them as a package, but something about the calendar, the timeline, because they wanted them there for spring football, and I don't know. But at the end of the day, it's just like, hey, the Tigers signing Jack Flaherty helps the Cubs maybe with Alex Bregman because they don't have that cash to spend.
Yeah. There you
Michigan not getting Rocco for spring football helps Nebraska. Things are looking up. Things are looking up.
Things are looking up. They're looking up.
Also, I don't know if you saw this on late Saturday night.
There was a lot, by the way.
No, you know what is a lot? You know what is a lot?
Working with me.
Yes. There are a lot of NBA podcasts.
There are so many. That is such a good take. That is such a good take.
There are so many NBA podcasts.
Oh my God.
There were some that were dormant until yesterday. My question is, and you can run with in the next segment or run all morning with Luka for AD.
Yeah. Oh my God, I can't wait.
Is this, what is a bigger sham scoop? Because he had two this weekend because, Jimmy, your window.
Yeah, we're back.
Yeah, you
open.
You dinged my beam team.
Yeah.
Oh, open.
Okay.
We're back. I immediately started
dinged.
looking for
You
jobs
got
in
dinged.
San Antonio.
I got dinged. You and I got dinged.
The Kings have been to the have had more success in the playoffs than your Chicago
Yes.
Bulls. But Jimmy, okay, as a Bulls fan, you should boycott them because I don't know
What
the
do you
hell
think
they're
I've
doing.
been doing?
You got Eric Bieniemy now in Chicago.
It is
Well,
wild. It is
gonna
wild
save
that
that.
Zach LaVine has only played in 4 playoff games, but he's going to be part of the beam team, and they reunite. And I guess the Kings now just accumulate former Bulls, Doug McDermott. And
Well, that was the thing, by the way.
Bob Love,
I don't know
John
if people
Paxson.
remember, but when Zach
Might be tough
Levine,
with Bob Love.
Oh,
when
Artist
Zach
Gilmore,
Levine,
he's still with us.
when Zach Levine had his qualifying offer come up at the end of his rookie contract, he signed a sheet with the Sacramento Kings. He wanted to go to Sacramento, and then the Bulls had to match that contract to bring him back. But yeah, the podcast though, you're going to the podcast. You're talking.
No,
about
there's
the
a lot of
basketball
podcasts. Is the biggest scoop in the history of shams tweeting out scoops. because he had the Luka AD.
Yeah.
I was sitting at Paulie's and I'm like, what? And then looking at all the TVs at Paulie's going, I wonder if they're going to break into the St. Mary's Gonzaga game. Like, where is Shams? Because everybody thought it was a joke. And then he had to make a video. By the way, shout out listener Jim. Came up, introduced himself, him and his lovely wife. They had just come from trivia night at St. Cecilia's. Big listener of the show. Said hello.
Awesome.
Been a long-time listener.
Awesome.
So, hello, Jim. I said I would recognize him this morning. But the biggest scoop in the history of Shams was it Saturday night? Because no one had this. Like, first of all, no one saw this coming. I mean, this is like,
Welcome Sunday thought it was a joke.
Was it this, or people forget this because it's now about 5 years ago. You remember who broke the story that President Trump had OG COVID? Shams.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
So
I did
what's
not
a
know
bigger scoop in the history of Shams? Saturday night, or that he was the first to tweet out that President Trump had OG COVID?
I'm going to go with Saturday.
Luka getting traded.
Mhm.
Luka getting traded by
Are you
far.
sure?
Way bigger. You don't just trade a 25-year-old in his prime to the most historic NBA franchise. of
Old
all
people
time.
get COVID all the time.
Exactly. You go to a nursing home if you want to see an old person get COVID. Not a big deal. All right. People get sick every day. It's not every day that a GM behind the back of his coach trades literally the second best player in the NBA
In this day
for
and
a
age.
bag of chips and a guy made of glass. All right. What do you? What do you mean? People get sick. It happens, man. He was fine.
And who owns the Mavs 2030 first round
They
pick?
put him on the Aaron Rodgers immunization, line. He was over it in a couple of days. They looked at his DNA. He didn't have DNA. He had USA. He bleeds red, white, and blue.
A guy that tweets scoops
Wow.
for the NBA broke a major story about the president having COVID.
Who gives a damn? That's
a huge scoop.
Hey, if Donald Trump could average 26, 12, and 8 and bring his team to the NBA
absolutely.
Finals, then I'll give a damn of whether or not he's sick.
With that big ass
Right.
down in the post, posting up against dudes.
He wouldn't be able to play in Toronto.
Indeed.
No, he wouldn't. He would not. They wouldn't let him into the country.
All right, we're off and running on a Monday morning. You're always welcome to join the conversation via the phone lines, 402-951-1620. Thank you for the people on the stream hanging in there. Jimmy
Yep.
fixed the issue. So
shout out stream people. We have a consistent group of stream people every day who are in there who are
Finn,
chatting
Sal,
at us.
Josh,
the
Ron,
captain,
Kevin is in
Jimmy,
there today.
and
Where's Kobe at? I know. I did not know what Kobe's name was. I know it's
Dan's
his
in
handle.
there. Dan's in there a lot. We got a good group, man. We got a good core.
You can email us into the Equitable Bank inbox, Gary at 1620thezone.com or Matt at 1620thezone.com or on the JTech. Nope. Hey, if you'd like to sponsor
I was about to say
we
we have an opening
at Gary Sharp 1620.
at Matt McMedia, MATTMC.
How are your followers doing since you've been on the show?
974.
Ooh, let's get him to 1,000.
We haven't gotten to K yet?
No,
1K?
no, but
All
we
right.
had a massive jump from December to now. We
Nice.
doubled.
Some
A
of his
lot of-
takes.
I'll
yeah.
say
Nice.
this though, I had a lot of bots who were following me on Twitter.
It's
and
count.
they got so I would have like 1,300 if Elon didn't come in and slash me.
All right. Let's have a good one today. There's a lot
Why
to
not?
discuss. What a great weekend of sports. Also, it's Super Bowl week. Wow.
Heck
Talk
yeah.
about something that flew under the radar.
Ooh,
Mm.
ooh.
I think tonight is media night, right? Like the Eagles and the Chiefs arrived in New Orleans and
Yesterday.
they got very little run.
The only thing that I saw it on was the NFL Network because they were running a Super Bowl marathon. They were doing all the
God bless the Super Bowl marathon.
They were doing
Yeah.
the Super Bowl marathon, and I was just watching it. I went all the way from Cardinals Steelers to Super Bowl 50. It was awesome.
All right. Nebraska football. A lot of stuff from Matt Rule. Great weekend of basketball. Creighton, Omaha, and Nebraska. And college hoops had a banger of a weekend. 11
They
or 8
did.
teams lost. 6 weeks from today, we have a bracket. 1620 the zone. Did you guys watch the Grammys last night?
I did.
I heard about it.
It's incredible how
I was all in on basketball.
It's incredible how many people are just unlikable in Hollywood. Just everybody who got up on the stage, who went onto the microphone, I just had a negative thought about.
This guy's my spirit animal some days.
Whoa.
We are getting to the point. You know what? I know too much about them.
They're all full of crap.
Hold on. Diana Ross at 80.
Oh,
Wow.
she looked great. She looked incredible. But like I just we're to the point. I know too much about you. You know, I know too much about everybody. I don't need to know as much as I do about the people that I know about. You know what I'm saying? Social media has revealed things that I just don't need to know. Okay?
Like?
Just like, why do I know so much about Jennifer Lopez and all the husbands that she's had and like all the problems and
She's a
everything like
celebrity?
that?
Yeah.
And like her and
She's got a
Ben
little chunk in the trunk.
Affleck. Like I know way too much about that. Like I know way too much about Shakira and Shakira's marriage and what
What a
Shakira's
halftime
done
show.
in her life.
What a show last night. Google her age, and then I'm going to pick your chin up off the table.
That
So
happened during the Super Bowl.
So she performed last night. You look up how old she
She's
is.
48.
Yeah. She got going.
Mhm.
Well, she's got all the help
That
in the
actually
world.
Gives me hope.
I don't
She's
care.
got,
Being in my
she's
early
got
40s.
all those people. Yeah, if you're in Hollywood, you better look good for your age. You got the best doctors in the world. You
Gary
got all the
Busey
money.
didn't.
You got the best facilities. You better look good.
You got the Ozempic.
She's 48.
Not her, though.
She looks
Yeah.
good. I just know too much about people.
Laney found Ozempic and it ruined it.
Yeah, ruined it.
Mhm.
She was fine just as she was
Yeah.
on Yellowstone.
Wasn't that so random though? They went from Cynthia Erivo, who is so talented and so good,
I don't know.
and
who
then
that
all
is.
of a sudden she gets off the microphone. She was the girl from Wicked.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, it's great.
Yes, I heard.
She gets off the
They sing.
microphone, and then Lainey Wilson comes on, and I'm like, what a switch up. Well, I mean, just
That was
the-
actually pretty good, though.
it was good.
They handled
No,
it.
yeah.
That was a good transition to what they were singing.
But if they were like, hey, who do you think is going to come up next after Cynthia Erivo? I would not have guessed Lainey Wilson in a million years.
It was a brutal night to be a Canadian.
It was.
Brutal night for Drake.
Yeah.
He's won 5 Grammys in his career. Kendrick Lamar won 5 Grammys for a song calling Drake a pedophile. And that the whole audience, including Taylor Swift,
I was about to say.
they were all singing a minor. I've wondered if, because
Like Scotty doesn't know.
Oh, by the way,
Scotty doesn't know.
Kendrick
Scotty.
Lamar is doing the halftime show
Yeah.
at the Super Bowl. So you're like, oh, okay. So it's not on CBS, it's on Fox. So we got Tom Brady whining about his GOAT status being ruined in the booth. I didn't say that.
But it's gonna
Is I
happen.
wondered, okay, so, you know, like for people that don't really know Kendrick Lamar, they now have heard Not Like Us. And I wondered in the Super Bowl if they would let him sing it like it is.
Yeah.
They played it last night on CBS. So I'm like, okay, it is game on next Sunday at the Super Bowl. And Drake is going to,
It's going to be a tough day.
You're going to have a rough
So
time.
him and LeBron aren't friends anymore, I don't think either.
Hmm.
So that's crazy too.
Yeah,
It's been a-
because so
Drake made a song that kind of insinuated some not so nice things about LeBron now. So I guess they're just not quote unquote brothers.
Not
anymore.
dribbling.
everything is a diss track. Like, you know, I mean, the
No,
Not Like Us is legendary. Hit 'Em Up and No Vaseline was epic.
No Vaseline's incredible song.
Here is Andrew to kick off the morning.
Drew.
Good morning, Andrew.
Hey, what's up, boys?
How you doing?
Good. How's everybody doing?
Doing great. Doing great. You got any
Are you-
excuses? Got any excuses to make, Andrew?
No, Matt, are you still stuck in space at Olive Garden with your girlfriend?
I am not.
Stinks.
I am not currently. Right now, I'm on the
I
radio.
look
I'm
forward
not.
to this conversation
not sucking
every
face
morning
at
from
Olive
now on.
Garden.
Should just put
What
my
do you-
legs up.
What do you got for us, Drew? You're one bank shot away from having a real rough call this morning.
Oh, hey, I heard him call it.
Oh, you heard him?
Yeah. If you listen to the replay, you can hear him.
Okay.
So, who are the likely starters now on the offensive line for Nebraska? Most likely, now that Rocco and that kid from Alabama, are they both guards?
No, so it'll be Gatula at a tackle, Latovsky and Spindler at guards, Evans at center, and then probably Pritchett at the other tackle spot, but we got to see what happens to
Probably.
hopefully, Pritchett at the other tackle spot. And, there's some other guys who are coming back from injuries and whatnot, but that's probably more than likely your 5 heading into the year.
So we basically have bought a new offensive line, in essence.
Two spots you
Two
did.
spots, yeah. I mean, the other 3, Evans, Gatula, and Latovsky are all homegrown and have all been in the program for a little bit and all been coached up by Raiola. So it's just Spindler and Pritchett.
Do you see Sledge getting any run?
Yes. I think Maciejczak and Sledge will be important guys. The thing I don't know is, so Rocco Spindler has only played right guard. Basically, Lutovsky's only played right guard.
Yeah.
But spring football with offensive linemen, because they're going to be down some guys, will be quite interesting because there'll be some young guys get an opportunity. But what Matt just went through, that 5, that is probably the betting favorite to be the opening day starting 5. I think Evans is probably better at center.
Yeah. Evans was a backup center when Ben Scott was playing 2 years ago. And then because of just what happened this season and injuries and whatnot, he ended up being put at that guard spot. But he was brought up and developed as a center.
All right. I was kind of wondering with all these new faces coming into the program, who was where.
Yeah, no, great.
Andrew, thanks for the phone call.
Thanks, Drew.
No problem. Bye.
And don't forget about Mr. Torres, who showed up at Pinstripe Bowl practices, the incoming freshman from Hawaii.
Okay.
He could mix into the center. See, I keep going back, listen to Rule Talk, and I like how he broke down the 57 with 38-10, which all makes sense, is the 105 is the best thing that's happened to Matt Rule at Nebraska. It's going to force competition. It's going to force you to be really good in strength and conditioning because you can't afford to have like a plethora of injuries. You don't have like a taxi squad.
No.
There's no more redshirting. So young bucks who are in competition where the lead guy goes, oh, they're going to sit him out for a year. No, there's going to be some guys that emerge because they know we ain't redshirting anymore, and I'm going to have a chance to play. It's competition everywhere. Plus, your culture is a lot tighter. You don't have willy-nilly 150 people out there, so we got 45 extras that are impacting you, so you can keep it tight. And then it also forces you as a coach, you got to be good at your evaluation, and you got to be really good at development. And if you can't master those, then you don't need to be here. But I think 105 actually works really well into Matt Rule's plan.
Evaluation and development are the 2 tools or 2 things that Matt Rule, I think, would mark down as strengths, not only for himself individually, but for his staff. And so that's a great point that 105, it makes you better at that. And, there are teams that they're going to be competing against too. If they can have an edge in terms of evaluating and developing, it's, going to help them out. I like what you brought up though, with the keeping it tight. There was a lot of guys on that roster. There were a lot of dudes who were on that team. 150, was 140, 150. I mean, it was a ton of just dudes. Some of them, I mean, a lot of them wouldn't go to camp. A lot of them, some on the back end had to like work out on their own. It just got, I don't know. It was just a lot of cooks in the kitchen. And so the fact that they get it down to 105, they get it more close there. You limit the distractions. You limit the amount of people in your locker room. You keep it about the guys who that are going to be playing and not the 33 other dudes who, for the most part, are more than likely not going to ever play it down for Nebraska. So I think it's all tight. I'm really happy when we're talking about the offensive line and you're bringing up Torres and Andrew's talking about Sam Sledge and there's still Maciejczak and we haven't brought up Grant Bricks and there's also Taumoa who's in there as well. Like there's all these young guys that have been highly touted recruits that have been in the program that have been developing that eventually it'll be their moment. Nebraska has not seen that in the pipeline in the last couple of years. And so the fact that it exists, and Matt Rule talked about how it's positive to go and get linemen out of the portal, but at the end of the day, you got to grow the trenches. And it seems like as these seasons have been going on and the recruiting processes have been going on, that's exactly what they've been doing.
I'm a big fan of growing your own.
Yeah.
That's why Grant Bricks is like the poster child for Donovan Raiola.
Will end up being the poster child for Donovan Raiola.
No, it's the poster child for if you're good or not good.
Sure.
Because Nebraska went all in on him. I mean, not everybody gets the equipment truck to come to their school.
I was about to say.
So if that happens, you're a high priority. Like if they send like
he was probably the highest priority.
If they drive an Uber and put it in front of your school, then it's like, meh. But if they bring the equipment truck to a guy that is from Logan, not very far from here, and you get him here and he's highly thought of, then he needs, like, this is the transition. Are we a guard or a tackle, and are we going to play?
Mm-hmm.
So,
I agree.
So he can't, and they've fanned on top end offensive linemen that they've gotten on campus. Not that they battled for, but that they've actually gotten on campus. So their top end offensive linemen need to come through and not just be a starter for 10, 12 games. They need to start getting some all Big Ten reps. And that's like a Grant Bricks is the perfect one. Nebraska won a battle for alignment. And you know what? They're striking out right now. They can't get Hudson Parliament. Iowa beat them in Sioux Falls. I was kind of surprised that, Missouri is a front runner for Jackson Cantwell, the 5-star offensive tackle from Missouri. But Nebraska didn't even get in his 6, not to like even get a visit. And Nebraska recruited him fairly hard. And the connection, his uncle played at Nebraska. His mom is from Missouri or from Crete. His dad was all, everything Olympian in track and field. It just, if you get them here and you win those kind of battles, then they've got to produce. Because that bugged me yesterday that Nebraska wasn't even in the final 6. Well, I mean, even if it was a token, not even in the final 6. Remember, everyone went crazy in the fall because he was playing with Nebraska gloves on. It was kind of disappointing yesterday.
I agree. Now, I think when we talk about Nebraska recruiting, we're always talking about, well, they got to get the top dudes. They got to get the top national prospects. They got to be more in contention for these top 4 stars, these 5 stars and whatnot. I liked your point from a couple of weeks ago. They got to hit on their own top guys. It seems like in these last couple of recruiting classes, Nebraska has not been able to develop the absolute best prospects that they get and turn them into superstars. And that's what's been Nebraska's problem for the last couple of years, is that you've had some good players. You've had some really solid players that play really good football. Who's your superstar been? They haven't had that superstar. They haven't had that top guy in the league at that position, whether it be defensive back, middle linebacker, dirty line, go down the line. They haven't had that, holy crap, at the end of the day, if we can't do anything, we can hang our hat on the fact that that's the guy.
Yep.
They haven't had that. They need to get that. And how are they going to get that? With how they are developing this program is by getting these top guys and getting them better.
All right, we took a break, come back. Hour number 2, we'll talk some hoops. Wild weekend in college basketball. Oh, by the way, in the NBA as well. Here, I don't necessarily think for the diehards, the new Saturday night was a good thing.
It was the stupidest trade maybe in sports history.
That would be correct.
It is.
We
it
are
is,
together on
it
that
is
one.
the stupidest
Herschel
trade.
Walker one was pretty bad too.
But
no, we'll
but-
break it down, Jimmy, because I got some adage to that.
I think if David Stern was still alive,
If they would have rejected it.
yeah, they would have rejected
they would
it.
have rejected
Yeah.
it. Oh,
Even though it would have benefited the Lakers.
listen.
Just
listen
like
right
Chris
now.
Paul to the Lakers.
They would have rejected it, but not for the reason you think. We'll talk about it.
Ooh.
It's Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. All right, good Monday, everybody. It is the 3rd of February. Wild, wild weekend.
Unexpectedly wild. But I liked it. I enjoyed it. Did you watch NASCAR last night?
I watched a little bit of it.
I ordered KFC and had a Miller Lite for dinner.
Congratulations!
Watching
all right.
NASCAR.
What'd you get from KFC?
I got a 6 and 6 combo. Got 6 pieces of chicken, original recipe always, and then a 6-piece tender with KFC sauce, mashed potatoes, corn, and gravy.
That's a lot of food.
But my roommate and I split it, so he got the 10. There's no about it.
It's
okay,
nice friends.
Sitting on the couch together?
Yeah.
no, we have 2 different couches, so he sits on one couch, I sit on the other couch. We have our spots. He kind of lays out on the smaller second couch, and I'm in the right corner of the big couch, right down the middle of the TV. It's good angles. He came home from work, and I go, "Hey, you want KFC?" He goes, "Yeah." So we got a combo. Your friends, do roommates got to do that? You've never covered for your roommate? You're like, "Oh, I'll make sure you got food when you come home from 12 hours of work."
Yeah.
That's what I said. Oh, it's great.
Did you Uber Eats, DoorDash?
DoorDash. I'm a DoorDash guy. I have the DoorDash pass and everything like that. Get some free deals and whatnot.
Of course you do.
I've had it for a while. I've had it for years. It's one of the very few things I paid for the entirety of college. ESPN Plus, Big Ten Plus, and my DoorDash pass because it was very important.
I think Adam Silver had a good weekend, but I think if you like the NBA when they turn the lights on in the arena and they play basketball, you had a bad weekend.
Yeah.
Because I think the problem with what happened on Saturday night, and don't forget the Aaron Fox to San Antonio deal is a big deal.
It is a big deal.
Especially again, Wemby's going to have 3 years with the Aaron Fox. I think there are more people that from late Saturday night to right now and the rest of today when all the talking head shows wake up that are going to talk more about the trade than actually will watch NBA basketball.
Yes.
And that's a problem with the NBA. I wish baseball had a deadline and baseball's hot stove was a lot better. But Christ, Alex Bregman, spring training starts this week and Alex Bregman is still out there available. The NBA, when the window opens in July and there are big names, it's bam, 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 it's done. And you're like, this is great.
Yeah.
And you get so excited about playing fantasy basketball with trades. That's what happened Saturday night. I think more people talked about it than actually watched the NBA.
Absolutely.
That's great for Adam Silver that people are talking about, but I just want people to watch my game and come and watch February 25th when the Lakers and the Mavs play or the 7th of March when the Kings and the Spurs play. But that's where the NBA is, that you get more excited for the transactions than you do actually for the game until it matters like in April and May.
The actual product on the court has become just not as good as what it used to be because of just the simplification of you're either doing a downhill pick and roll all the way to the rim or you're running a fancy set to get a 3. That's kind of what you do, one of those 2 things. And it's just what compared to what the NBA used to be and people who enjoy the product, watch the product, it's not the same. And these transactions have absolutely blown up. And the NBA has now marketed their players almost like soap opera characters where it is a soap opera and you're more interested in the actual drama of the NBA and not the actual basketball of the NBA.
Shout out Bo and Hope.
I guess to the
I knew you'd get that.
I guess to a certain
the only one.
Days of Our Lives is not anymore.
It still is.
It is?
I only knew about Days of Our Lives because of Friends.
Oh, yeah.
Because Dr. Drake Ramore. I did not know that Days of Our Lives. For the longest time, I thought that Days of Our Lives was a fake show in a real show until I later found out, oh no, Friends actually had a character who was trying to be in a real show. I was like, that's really, really cool. I didn't know it existed. Regardless of the Days of Our Lives talk, it's the stupidest trade in NBA history for a couple of reasons. It really doesn't have to do with the fact that you got Anthony Davis for Luka Doncic and this is how you know who hasn't been watching the NBA and who has been following the NBA. Anthony Davis has been great this year. Anthony Davis has been playing like one of the 7 or 8 best players in the NBA. He's averaging 26 and 12. He's doing really, really well on the defensive end. Now, granted, he just got injured, but he played 76 games last year. He's played 42 games this year. He's been an actual legitimate superstar, and he's finally playing up to the billing that we thought he would have been at 2 years ago.
You're right. like if healthy, especially with Lively coming back for
Yeah.
Dallas, I like, and I imagine the Lakers aren't done. I like the starting five for Dallas more than I like the starting five currently for the Lakers with AD in Dallas and Luka in LA.
I totally agree. And you're sitting there, but the problem is that no Dallas fan is now looking at their lineup and excited about the fact that they actually have a potential championship roster. They're sitting and looking at the fact that this was a totally botched process. Because if you're going to trade Luka Doncic, fine. That's already stupid enough to do that. That's already idiotic to trade that guy. But then to not do it without a bidding war, to not do it where you just say, hey, guys, we're not going to pay him. We have internal issues with him. Give us your best offer. Do you know how many teams would offer for Luka Doncic? 31.
Oh, yeah. Not even on the open market did they put him.
They didn't even put him on the open market.
Yeah.
They did not have 31 teams would have went up to the GM, Nico. I don't know his Harrison, and would have been like, here is our absolute best offer. And there is no such thing as, well, we give up leverage because we say that Luka doesn't want to be here. It's Luka Doncic. Everybody would have given up the absolute max they could have to go and get this guy. And what it dawned from is he said during his press conference, he was like, yeah, I was having coffee with Rob Pelinka
with some beer.
And it was this kind of conversation, and it just turned into, would you do it? Would you do it? And all I'm thinking is, oh my God, Rob Pelinka is going back to the Lakers front office being like, this idiot, I'm getting him to bite on this. He's actually thinking about it. I can't believe, like, I don't know. He keeps saying he's going to do it. I don't know what's wrong with him, but I'm going to keep talking to him. I mean, it's ridiculous.
It's wild that Jason Kidd didn't know. Like, that was an uncomfortable press conference yesterday.
That was so
I didn't even need sound to know it was bad.
And on top of that too, to do all of that, to not have like the open market and not like allow people to bid for you.
That's why I think there's some behind the scenes stuff. Yep. And the GM made it personal. He hates him. He absolutely hates him. He hasn't played since Christmas. He's out of shape. There has to be other stuff that is not known, because you don't do something like this unless there is more to the story.
Well, on top of that,
because this is on the surface, this is ridiculous.
It is the stupidest straight up. And then David Stern would have rejected it, not because, Anthony Davis isn't worth that, not because Anthony Davis isn't good enough to be traded for Luka Doncic. David Stern would have been like, are you crazy? Are you out of your effing
because they would have said, that's a bad deal. You only get one draft pick, and it's usually a bottom of the first round draft pick?
Not even that. It's not even that. It's, we could have milked this for 3 weeks. The NFL is over. Do you know how entertaining the Luka Doncic saga would have been?
That's
Do you know
right.
how much TV we would have gotten out of this? Do you know how many days in a row the NBA would have been in the A block?
Take
because
that,
all
Taylor
anybody
Swift.
could talk about is the fact that Luka Doncic might actually be traded. Every single day, it would have been like, oh, I'm hearing that the Bucks are interested. I'm hearing that the Charlotte Hornets are interested. I'm hearing that, hey, it's come down to 5 teams, and what the Mavericks want is this. The next week, well, I'm hearing that the Nets have come out of nowhere with a mega offer. It would have been 3 weeks of, I wonder where he was going to go. I wonder where he was going to go. And then even if he didn't get traded, it would have been incredible TV for the NBA. No, they did it in the shadows, underground. And by the way, why do you do it in the shadows? Because you want no one to know about it? Because you want no one to figure out it's the stupidest move ever?
That's when the good stuff happens. When everyone's talking about it for 3 weeks, nothing happens.
Man,
they reconcile.
There's someone is going to have an expose on this, because there has got to be more to the story.
Mm-hmm.
He changed from Pimp King. Don writes in. He goes, worse than Ditka trading everything for Ricky Williams. Because people immediately like, well, what's the equivalent in baseball? What's the equivalent of football to this trade? Like Josh Allen for Matthew Stafford was one I saw out there.
That's a good one.
Some of the worst trades in sports history. The Cleveland Browns trading their future to the Houston Texans for a creep, I would say, would be right up there.
Yeah. Well, the Deshaun Watson contract is not just a bad contract in sports history. It's a bad contract in world history. I mean, I don't even think the Louisiana Purchase was worse than Deshaun Watson to the Cleveland Browns. I mean, to give up all that money for a guy who is that stained from what he did in Houston. Oh, and by the way, he didn't play a full year and like never reached anywhere close to where he was previous to when he got to Cleveland. And then, also, by the way, they got rid of Baker Mayfield to do it. And Baker Mayfield has been to the playoffs more and has won more playoff games in the recent history than the Cleveland Browns have done. So
Maybe the Red Sox trading Babe Ruth.
Yeah. I remember sports
Because
talk
then
back
you brought 86 years of curse with you.
I don't know. Maybe the Mavericks will end up doing that. I don't think.
Hopefully.
I really don't know how it's going to work in LA between LeBron and Luka.
Hopefully a disaster.
You don't think they'll gel on defense?
I think the Lakers will be playing 5-on-3 on defense.
They
a lot.
won't work out together.
I cannot wait to see that transition defense between those two guys.
How do you? But here's another thing. How do you think that Reeves and Luka will be in the backcourt together?
I think that'll work.
Will he
My
get jealous?
thing is that LeBron has always played with two types of players. He's either played with big men who are skilled not only on the offensive end, but the defensive end. But he's also played with guards who can be number one scoring options. Those are the two archetypes that LeBron bodes well with. You have your Kyrie and your Wade, and you have your Bosh, your Ilgauskas, and your Anthony Davis. Those are kind of the main. Also, another one like Tristan Thompson worked out really well with LeBron James because that is just the type of player he likes to play with. He's never played with a player like him. And I'll harken back to this. About 3 years ago, 2-3 years ago, LeBron mentioned that he wanted Luka to be the first LeBron athlete in a Nike series. He wanted to make his own Nike LeBron series, have a LeBron athlete, and he wanted Luka to be that first guy because they play so similarly together. I don't know how LeBron is going to play with a guy who plays a lot like him. He's never done that before. But with the Lakers, it was clear that this was not about winning now or LeBron or anything like that. It was about this guy has the potential to be, maybe already is the biggest international star in the entire sport, and we get to take him for a box of cookies.
Yeah, don't you think they also? So the one thing about the Lakers, I mean, it's amazing over their long history, is they've always had that next guy.
Yeah,
like from Jerry West to Wilt to, from Kobe to LeBron, and now they got a 25-year-old guy who is like their next. They've always been able to hand like the torch off, which is pretty impressive with that franchise. Here's the other part of like Luka, they were pretty free with how much he's weighing. So they said 260.
He's a portly fella.
But he's not like he's 5'11", 260. He's 6'7", 260. We know what he is. But you know what?
Should have traded him to the Cowboys.
I don't know. I watched him in the Western Conference Finals. He does show up to play basketball. Now, is he injury prone? Yes. Here's the thing. How much time does he have with LeBron? Because Anthony Davis got to L.A., and Anthony Davis was not into conditioning. Anthony Davis has become in great condition playing with or under LeBron because you have to. I mean, LeBron's 40 bills, and he's in incredible shape. So what does that do to Luka? Does Luka all of a sudden, in his first time in his career, he's around somebody that is going to force him to get his butt in shape? And if that happens, does Nebraska send Dylan Raiola to the Lakers? Just kidding.
Or is he?
Well, Luka, if I'm the LA Lakers, I want the Dallas Mavericks to continue to say how out of shape he was, how he wouldn't get into condition, about how he's not good enough on defense to win a championship. I just want the Mavericks to keep just slandering his name so I can sit Luka in front of the TV and go, you see what they're saying about you? You see what you're not special, David Justice.
They said you're husky.
I'm not paying you $7 million. The Yankees are paying you.
By the way, we need that movie is so outdated.
No, it is not.
Moneyball is so outdated.
No, it is not.
Yeah, it is.
It is a great movie.
Even Jonah Hill said we got to retire it.
What do you mean?
It was a great movie, but the process is so outdated these days.
What do you mean? The process of how they won, or just the quotes?
Yes,
because the movie
lives, but the ideology of Moneyball is done. It's outdated.
Well, yeah, because how they did it back in the day is now the expensive way of doing it. There is no efficient way to build that team anymore.
But I saw because I saw people like, well, this is how it works. And I'm like, no, the movie was good. The ideology is long time. Jonah Hill said, retire it. Get rid of it.
Anyway, I love Moneyball. It's my favorite movie of all time. So
wow.
My number one movie. That and then Empire Strikes Back, number 2.
They're practically the same movie. I get that.
That's quite the end of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then The Martian, number 3.
Oh, of course.
With Matt Damon. You ever see that movie, Matt Damon?
I did not see it, but I know of it.
He's stuck on Mars.
Remember him on Team America.
And then he's got to
that is quite the trio of movies
to get out. And then I think Megamind is in the top 10 somewhere. I got a whole.
All right, I want Matt's top 10.
Little Women. Ever see that one? Look at that bug. That's a big bug.
That's a
Look at that
ladybug.
thing. That's a moth.
You sound like Gruden.
Oh,
That
it
is
hit the light and it fell down, and now it's going around. Permission to kill it?
Why do we have a ladybug in the studio?
It's not a ladybug.
good
That's
luck.
a moth.
That's not a moth.
That is not a moth.
That is
not
a
a
big moth. That is not a ladybug.
Where is she?
A ladybug is like small and quaint and pretty. That thing has like antlers on it. Look at that thing.
Antlers can be pretty.
That looks like Blitzen. I mean, do you see the look? It's right there on that light.
Yes.
Look at that thing. It's got antennas on it. Now Jimmy's getting up to look at it. I mean, that's a moth.
I think it's neither.
What there's so many. I
Could
could
be a
never live in
locust.
Australia. You ever see those videos of people in Australia with those spiders crawling around? Just a snake ends up in the toilet. It's like a chameleon is like crawling on your nightstand.
Like a chameleon. Like the jungle came alive and ate him. Took him.
It's not a moth.
What is it then?
It's a bug.
It's a bug.
It's a bug's life.
It's not just a bug. It's not just a fish, you know?
Saying Blaine and Hawkins were taken by a lizard.
It's a big bug. Are you an anthropologist?
I don't
Isn't
think
that
it's a
what,
ladybug,
the
though,
study
unfortunately.
of animals are? Anthropology?
No, I
No,
used to.
Insectology?
So in Florida in the summer, they have love bugs
Oh, okay.
that end up all over your grill. They come out at a certain time. I don't know what that is. It's not a moth, though.
Yeah.
I know what a moth is.
I was just saying.
Have you ever seen a moth? Like a moth doesn't. Is that going to eat your sweater? Like gets in your closet?
Moths eat sweaters?
Yeah, they love them. That and
Really?
chicken nuggets, yeah.
It's such a random one, too.
I know, right?
All right, we got some emails and some tweets to get to after a busy weekend of basketball where all three won Victory Monday.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, tis. You don't
Yeah.
get many of those.
Good turnout Saturday. Good crowd.
Great crowd.
That's
it was
great.
Large crowd. People had a good time over at Baxter. Didn't have a great time in the first half or in about the first 7 minutes of the second half, but boy, I enjoyed the last 13 minutes.
I'm sure you did.
All right, off and running. Coming up at 8:30, Evan Bland will stop by. Matt Rule had some things to say. And I don't know where the C word was used, but the C word was used in the wrong context this weekend.
Okay.
Jacob Bigalow drops by at 9 as well. 1620 The Zone.
Underdog is the best place to cash in on all your takes during the playoffs. Which players are going off? Which ones are ice cold? With over 5 million happy players, including me, and $2 billion won, Underdog makes it fun and easy to cash in on all your favorite athletes' performances. They've got all your favorite leagues, teams, and stars to choose from, even with their new teams. You can create entries with all football picks on Sunday or mix and match across your other favorite sports, pro basketball, college basketball, hockey, you name it. Underdog is the only pick'em platform that puts the power to cash out in your hands. Now you can either keep riding with your entry or tap the Win Now button to cash out whenever you want. This week on Underdog, I'm looking at a football game on Sunday night. Tell you about that football game later in the week. And I'm going to pick one of the players, probably on the team wearing red, to do things because that's what he does. Underdog is the best place to play pick'em. Download the app, sign up with promo code ZONE, and deposit now to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That's promo code ZONE. Must be 19 plus in Nebraska and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit ncpgambling.org.
All right, keep your head on a swivel out there, everybody. Something happened on the red carpet of the Grammys last night with Kanye West and his wife.
I see what you did there.
So you may be sharing pictures of his wife, and just be careful out there. Not everybody is into that kind of stuff at your workplace. Just a little tip from Uncle Gary.
I think
keep you employed on this beautiful
Post it
Monday.
to your private story on Instagram, your
think,
close friends.
I think the letters NSFW have never been used more than today in terms of what will be circulating text messages all around the world after what happened. You know,
Man,
there are
Shoddy dropped his phone. We're like, whoa.
There are 7 words.
That's
that
quite the get up.
I can't say on the air. And if I were to say any one of those 7 words, it would not be as inappropriate as what happened on that red carpet yesterday. That is just going to occur with no consequences whatsoever.
It's the Grammys.
Proud of her body.
It's the Grammys.
Is that what that was? Is that what you call body positivity?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if she was built like Charlie Weiss, she wouldn't be wearing that. Good for her.
I think if she was built like Charlie Weiss, she wouldn't be married to Kanye West.
That we know of, but he is a different cat.
Does she have money? Didn't she have money before this all happened? Like,
Yes.
is she in this
Her dad
for the
was
money?
a lawyer.
Okay. So she's just crazy.
They all are.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
They all are.
Mhm.
But I
That's
saw Queen Latifah yesterday, though. She looks great. Alicia Keys.
They were wearing different outfits.
Alicia Keys has her own Broadway musical about herself.
Mm-hmm.
You know that?
Yeah, she
I
keeps
know
falling.
that.
And I know I'm old. I'm even older that Alicia Keys received a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Oh.
I kind of remember when she first started.
I was about to
Same.
say.
Yeah.
I don't think
Why'd you look at me like that? You're like, oh, yeah.
No, I mean, my mom and dad are in the same boat, too. My mom loves Alicia Keys. She remember when Alicia
Wow.
Keys was a little
Actually makes it worse.
I know. He
Superstar.
didn't know what he did there. That's okay. We'll get him back.
No, insures for everybody. Everybody drinks them.
Your parents are a little bit older than I am.
They are.
Yes.
They are older than you.
Do you think if we went into a packed house and recreated the last, I'll give him 6 seconds, on Saturday in Philadelphia, that Stephen Ashworth could bank in the 3 from the corner again?
Yeah, that's going to be the top question at the press conference, right? Like, were you aiming for it? Did you mean to do it? Can you do it again? It's a hell of an angle.
I think you practice that. I know people are like, "Oh man, he got lucky." There's always a little bit of luck involved, but I think that if you shoot and you're a volume shooter and in your whole career, whether in games or just practicing, you've made that shot or attempted that shot where you bank it off the glass before. Now, usually it's just a straight on. Yeah. And the guy, like people love the corner 3. I mean, the corner pocket 3.
Shout out.
I mean, that
corner 3.
That warms the cockles, and guys like that shot because they get a good look at it. But I bet during his career, just shooting around, is like, you know what? Let's, instead of just trying to shoot it straight on where it drops in the bottom of the cup, let's try and bank it here if we're at this angle. And he banked it in, and Creighton ends up winning after Eric Dixon dribbles the ball off of his foot. But that's kind of Villanova under Kyle Neptune. Hey, Jason Green did a great job on Eric Dixon. But I wonder if we recreated it, because some TV station they'll take him to an empty chai.
Oh, $1,000,000%.
Hey, okay, let's recreate this. And Steven, can you make it? I will say that he can.
You know the voiceover. I know the exact voice. So we took Steven to the court to see if he could recreate the shot. And what do you know? First try, and then it shows him shooting natural sound off the. Oh,
I mean, it's a classic corner bank 3 to win a game. I mean, who hasn't done that?
Can I think of another corner 3 banked off to win? I mean, I immediately think of Derrick Rose's 3 when he was coming off the top of the key, Game 3 against the Cleveland Cavaliers, 2016.
Nice.
I think of LeBron's 3. Banked off. That was toward the wing, though, against the Washington Wizards. He was fading away out of bounds.
I mean, from the corner, it's a little bit more difficult. But if you're into trick shots and you played a lot of horse in your lifetime,
you're a Dude Perfect guy. You ever watch Dude Perfect?
Yeah.
I love Dude Perfect, man.
Maybe we'll find out that Stephen Ashworth is a Dude Perfect guy, and that's where he'll continue his basketball career when it's all said and done.
Who's your favorite Dude Perfect member?
I don't have a specific one.
No. Yeah,
No.
I like the Purple Hoser.
It's either
That's
Crackle
Garrett.
or Pop.
No. There's Tyler, Cody, Cody, Tyler, Cody, Corey, Kobe, and Garrett.
I just learned they were Aggies a couple years ago.
Yeah,
Well, that's
how
where they got their
started.
start.
Yeah.
So Kobe and Tyler, like that, they started Dude Perfect.
Yes.
Yes, at
And then-
Texas A&M with
Yes.
the whole football off the top of Kyle Field.
Well, it started in their house. They did like a trick shot in their house, and then they got to Kyle Field. And then like Corey, Kobe's brother, started like editing it all. So here's the thing that you should know about me. I'm a massive Dude Perfect fan.
Mhm.
I went to the Dude Perfect World Tour in Chicago.
Okay.
They had a concert, and I went to it. It was my brother, my 25-year-old brother at the time, and 21-year-old Matt went to. We
This was
drove
just
all
last
the
year.
way
Okay.
down, like 35 minutes away, 40 minutes away to go to a Dude Perfect concert.
What did they do?
So they did like trick shots. They had like
Mhm.
a trick shot thing, but then they also have these thing called battles, right? Like they battle each other and they
Okay.
do these weird, wacky competitions. So they did battles there. And then they have this show called Overtime, where it's just like a segmented like type show. Like it's like a TV show
Yeah.
basically. And they have this thing called Cool or Not Cool. So they did their cool or not cool items. There was like a whole comedy bit routine. Like they had like vignettes, you know, they had like pre-recorded videos and vignettes, which is a fun little activity. Like it was an hour and a half. It was worth every piece of it. Look it up. They're not going to have Dude Perfect like world headquarters. They're going to have like they're going to have their own theme park. They like did a bunch of fundraising. They have like 25 people now.
Can they
who
bring
work
back
for them.
Astroworld?
DPHQ3. It's like this massive warehouse store. It's like 8 times the size of this place. And they have like a basketball court, hockey like area.
Yeah.
Like it's sick. Dude Perfect, man.
So the first bracket of the morning is out. It's from Shelby Mast, who is Bracket
What a
Wag.
great segue.
So
Can I guess where they're at? I guess where
there,
all three
there are
teams are
two
at?
of the three
Ooh.
are in the USA Today bracket.
So Creighton's a 7.
That'd be correct. They're the last 7 in his bracket.
And then Omaha's a 16.
Well, not in this one.
Ooh.
He has South Dakota State.
Okay.
Omaha has a 2-game lead on South Dakota State.
That's just like kind of like you're trying to prove you're smart type deal, you know, like, oh, I know the Summit League and I've watched
Yeah.
it really well. And I could tell you right now, you know, they're in 3rd place, but they'll end up winning.
So that just the default then is Nebraska is in the USA Today bracket this
Sure.
morning as an
11.
11.
In the
last
play-in.
last 4 in Nebraska, Pitt, UNC,
Okay.
San Diego State.
UNC still in.
Whew. That
Really?
was
Those are the rules.
that was a beat down.
People were like, so I was on the phone with my friend and I was like, yeah, this is like a great day. He actually went to the Royal Rumble. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to watch a lot of college basketball before the Rumble. And like, I
Mhm.
was naming off the games that I wanted to play. And he goes, you're missing the biggest one. And I go, am I? He's like, I already said Kentucky, Arkansas. He's like, no. North Carolina, Duke. I'm like, oh, I don't care about that game. Duke's going to kick the crap out of them.
Because it was going on while Omaha was playing. And so I checked the score and I'm like, oh, there's a tennis match going on at Cameron Indoor. It was 40-15.
It wasn't even competitive from the
Yeah.
get-go. There was at no point we had the quad box on, and at no point did we put the volume on
Mhm.
that game because you didn't need it. You just kept looking at the score and you're like, oh, they're losing by 8. Oh, they're losing by 12. Oh, they're losing by 19. It was embarrassing. Hubert Davis might be done. Might
I
be.
wouldn't go that far,
He
but
might be. He's getting close.
they're
I know that college
They gotta-
basketball
they gotta
coaches have
figure
much
some things
longer
out.
leashes, but it's been tough sledding.
before we get to some Nebraska basketball tweets because they've brought you back
Because they're
into
back.
I can't do that. But I'm like, you got my attention. You got my attention for another day. And yes, I did look at the last 9 games, and
9-0.
I still say 21 got to win at least one game in the Big Ten. You can't go 2 in the Q. You might have to win 2. But so back to turning the volume down. I posed this question because, Creighton is a nationally televised program. They get, you can't have Kevin and Nick doing every game. But
It's true.
we got the Tim Brando experience in Philadelphia on Saturday with Donnie Marshall.
Yeah.
You can choose a national
Oh, I like this game.
announcer that does Creighton games, not named Kevin Kugler, to eliminate
Sorry, Kevin.
from doing Creighton games because he's not. He's a side.
Right.
This is like you don't like them and they're out. Would that guy be Tim Brando? The reaction of
prefer him on a football game still, but even that's been waning.
I thought they were like disappointed that Villanova lost. Like I know everybody says, "Oh, you're rooting for that team. You're not rooting for my team."
Yeah.
It was almost like after Ashworth hit that shot, because on the steal to put Villanova up 60-59.
Oh,
They're like, here we go. Here we go. People are going to storm the floor. That was the tone of the voice. And then just go from the Ashworth shot to the turnover at the end that essentially ends the game and just the tone and the feel. And I'm like, wow.
We'll be back with the post game right after this.
They're very
I think it's overblown. The whole this announcer is rooting against my team or this announcer is favored against guys. They're national announcers, okay? They have to be
all gamble on games.
Okay? So they have to point out the flaws of your team.
Maybe not all.
They have to point out the flaws of the other team. They have to call it down the middle. And when you call it down the middle, you're going to be like, "Oh my God, he said this mean thing about us. He wants them to win." And then it's coupled on by, "Well, he said this positive thing about it." It's overblown. I trust if you think it was that bad, I totally trust you because you're a broadcaster and you would know.
It was just really like I don't know that the energy kept the moment.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. It's a great phrase.
People are knocking on my door saying you said the C word, that Nebraska is attached to the C word. Let me get to that before I
did get a tweet saying cookies.
How did we get to cancellation of the spring game on Saturday? They are altering the spring game. They're not canceling the spring game. But was there because this came up on one of my notifications, did a national publication run with the cancellation?
They ran with they ran with it won't be televised. Okay. Is one that I saw. And then but the headline was because of tampering. They ran with because of the worry of tampering. Nebraska isn't going to have a spring game. That's what it was.
I thought I saw somewhere some national outlet said canceled, that they were canceling the spring game, which is not true. So I don't know how we got to canceling the spring game. We'll circle back to some of the thoughts that Rule had about that.
Oh, it's AP.
They said canceled?
Nebraska's spring game likely canceled.
Okay, thank you.
But that's not,
that's not true.
That's not true.
Cancellation is out.
You're doing nothing.
We hate the fans in Nebraska. We do not want them to enjoy our football program. We want to keep it under lock and key.
There's another one. There's another one where it goes, Nebraska considers spring game cancellation. The New York Times, though, and USA Today have better headlines, though.
Thank you. Now to some Nebraska basketball tweets. First, Flaky Jake says, bring back Bill Walton.
Agreed.
Kind of be tough, wouldn't it?
Rest in peace. It is unfortunate that the first year that Nebraska basketball gets to go west, there is no Bill Walton.
Yeah. So
instead we get Don McLean and Guy Haberman.
I'm fine with them.
I wish, so those guys, a guy, so he does football and basketball, and he'll do some baseball for the Big Ten Network.
Don running guys to Wilbur, Nebraska.
But they're based on the West Coast, so they don't ever send like the main guys out to the West Coast that are doing most of Bardo doesn't go out to Eugene.
No,
Kugler
is for the most part in the same.
I wish because they did it with football. That games are on the Big Ten Network. I wish they would swap a little bit.
Sure,
because when the bus tour, they have their West Coast crew, Yogi Roth, so they kind of stay out on the West Coast. I wish they would, but it's too bad that we don't get. Yesterday would have been a Bill Walton game.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that would have been a Bill Walton game. But now to some tweets about Nebraska basketball.
By the way, back to the announcers real quick. Are there any announcers that you really don't like to listen to for college basketball? Do people really have that? I feel for the most part, college basketball is pretty good in terms of announcers. I don't like Shambi, but
you don't like Shambi?
I don't like John Shambi, but that's because John Shambi's a baseball guy for me.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a transition because when I hear his voice, I originally knew him as the Marlins guy.
Yeah.
So that is a little bit tough.
Frequent visitor to
and he has a
Allen.
different style. He takes the baseball style into basketball where he's very conversational. There's nobody that I immediately turn off.
Yeah.
I don't like when that random Creighton game is on the CBS Sports Network and it's Steve Lapis doing the game. Okay, I just can't.
Okay. There you go. That counts. There it is.
Zach
Out on the
writes in,
accent?
the Lego Maniac. Hoiberg is 2-0 against McDermott and Altman this season.
Okay. Good for Fred.
Joey writes in the Equitable Bank inbox. The game that's the 2-0. You could have used that against Andrew when he called last hour.
He'll call tomorrow. You
He'll
got
call
it.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
He'll be fine. He didn't want to fight. He didn't want it. I gave it to him and he didn't want it. He didn't want it. He knew I had the ammo.
If you were scoring the round by yourself, what would you?
I would have given myself a 10-9. We didn't get into enough of a fight.
He needs to say that like Harold Letterman.
For it to be a 10-8. It was one of those rounds where they were circling for a while, but
Yeah.
I threw 15 punches and he threw 2, so you have to give it to me.
Joey says the game last night had the feel of the Creighton Nebraska game. Every time Oregon made a push, Nebraska had an answer, and they completely took Oregon's best guy out of the game. When you play toughness, that will travel and cover up 4 of 21 shooting from 3. Just like it did the other night against Illinois when they were out-rebounded. Thank you, Will Riley. Seeing multiple guys go to the boards and go after loose balls and close out aggressively. Speaking of loose balls, how about the big turkey man on the floor? Wow. Closing out aggressive on shooters is the type of gritty ball they need to cover up some talent issues.
That's a great. Speaking about loose balls, you see what Kanye West wife wore?
There were no balls there.
Well, there were circular items that were hanging out.
Okay, so last night, trying to explain what happened,
Yeah.
see what happened.
What had happened was,
She was wearing a mink coat, and the mink coat came off, and there was nothing there.
is that Costanza? Is that your Costanza?
Um,
It's terrible, Jerry. It's terrible.
it's a make or miss sport, boys and girls,
Yeah,
and
she made it.
I'm on to basketball. Okay,
Oh, okay. I thought we were still talking about.
I'm talking about the real balls, not the fake ones.
Okay. Well, they look pretty real to me.
Jim. Oh.
I don't know.
Jim.
I knew when the Hooters opened up in Lincoln.
Oh,
I knew the plastic surgeon
yeah.
that did all the.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Got
Oh,
a
really?
discount, I hope.
Dude, that
Hey, I got an eye for offensive line talent and that.
Of good surgeons or good Hooters.
I can tell handiwork.
Yeah. By the way, the Hooters right next to the Council Bluffs Horseshoe Casino might be the most perfectly placed fast food spot or casual food spot I've ever seen in my entire life.
Wow.
You could not put a better place next to the Horseshoe Casino than a Hooters. Hooters.
There's a lot of discussion here about the identity. I don't even know where
Did
to go with
Nebraska basketball go under the knife yesterday?
I'm just listening, seeing how you can pull it all back in.
this. Well, instead of shooting from outside, they said, you know what? Let's get inside and let's go for a better shot right at the rim.
Yeah.
So when your identity is this,
Go
so
right
I'm
straight
gonna-
to the rack.
I'm going to take your lead here.
Oh, take
Okay.
it.
So you don't. Wow. Nebraska's hired a special teams coach.
Oh,
You need the thing played?
Well,
Yeah,
hold on.
play it.
Yeah. Oh, well, this is a little bit of a shocker.
yeah. Here we go. Play it.
Yeah. I'll get back to the identity in a moment.
And
but
Kim.
on 3. What was that question this weekend? The whole special teams discussion.
Yeah. We're interviewing
Because
people.
who we're about to tell you is the new special teams coach in Nebraska is counterproductive to some of the stuff that Rule said about they won't be necessarily a recruiting role. VolQuest is reporting that Mike Eckler will not return to Tennessee for the 25 season. Mike Eckler is returning to Nebraska to be the special teams coordinator.
I like Mike Eckler.
So he is returning to Nebraska. His parents live here still. VolQuest is reporting that a desire to be closer to family led to his decision. Let's see here. I'm scrolling through. This is on
great
VolQuest.
crash
It's
Eckler.
on 3. So Mike Eckler is being reported as the new special teams coach at Nebraska. Tennessee only gave him 115 punt return yards in 24, while averaging at 16 yards a punt. They also had a really good punter.
But in 2023, they ranked in the top 25 in 4 different categories in special teams. They were the nation's top 25 in block kicks, block punts, net punting, and punt return defense, and punt return average. They also led the SEC in punt return average, block kicks, and block punts in 2023.
Wow. Okay.
It is. So I went on No Block, No Rock podcast in early January 6th was the day that I went on.
That day.
It just kind of sticks in the head. And at the time,
I pardon you for going on that.
Sorry. Ed Foley had not been fired yet. He had not been relieved of his duties as special team coordinator. So we went into a full-on deep conversation about why they need to get rid of Ed Foley, who are potential people that they would hire. And I believe it was Mike on No Block, No Rock who immediately said, Mike Eckler. And we all looked around and said, no, he's not leaving Tennessee. He's comfortable at Tennessee. You understand the Nebraska connection, but, I mean, he's in the SEC. Knoxville is really nice. He's got a good gig there, good special teams unit, got elite athletes. Not that Nebraska doesn't have elite athletes, but just the different SEC speed to have a unit like that consistently. Matt Rule.
Yeah, that's
what that is. That's what, right there. Just laid down. Go and get you a high-quality special teams coordinator from an SEC school. Bring him back home to go and lead your unit. That's what that was.
That the stroke?
That's quite an interesting development. Now, because we were going to talk about some of the things that Rule said about special teams and it not being schematically, and basically just saying, it was a long snapper.
Yeah, fully.
So he fully knew that he had hired a special teams coach. And so this discussion was just kind of he just threw it out there.
Oh, yeah.
Because Mike Eckler is a fairly good recruiter. So, I mean, at one point I was like listening to Rule on Saturday going, is this even going to be a full-time position?
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Okay. So he just didn't want to get into it and leave some tea leaves. So he knew this was coming. But according to On3, first to report it, Mike Eckler is leaving Tennessee. His contract up a couple of days ago and now is coming to Nebraska to be the special teams coach.
It's a hell of a hire. And we talked about when we first started having the conversation of who do they need to hire to be the special teams coordinator, it was immediately someone with results, just someone who's done it before, someone who's had that experience, someone who's had success at that position. And Matt Rule in his first go around in hiring assistant coaches wasn't really too concerned about experience. He was concerned about bringing in his guys and building the culture. Now in year 2, he is fully abandoned that because he goes, you know what? We have established the culture. The culture starts with me. People respect me. We're all good to go. Let's now go and hire top guys at top positions.
I imagine they are paying him crazy money.
I imagine that too.
Because I wonder if they got into a bidding war with Tennessee and said, we need him back in Nebraska.
I think there was a reason, though. You're absolutely right that he did not. Because first off, he said, we're still interviewing guys. We are going to take our time. And they're not going to be in a recruiting position. All 3 of those things are going to end up being false. I mean, they did not take their time. They weren't interviewing a lot of people. And Mike Eckler will be recruiting for Nebraska.
I think the only
football.
thing that he said that might be true is that Phil Snow was involved.
Yeah.
Other than that,
you should see Phil sit down with these guys and talk to these guys and really ask them the questions that he wants to know. Okay. Appreciate it, Matt. Good hire, man. That was good.
So, according to VolQuest, the On3 site, Mike Eckler is returning to Nebraska.
Holy smoke and mirrors.
Energy going to be pretty high on that sideline. That's a really, really good addition.
Bring the Mohawk back.
Hey, hang the banner. I know people laugh. Hang the banner of the offseason because Nebraska won the portal rankings. And if you look at additions to the staff, because Mike Eckler is about as good as it gets in that area.
Easily.
And in knowledge, that's been a good offseason for Nebraska.
And now that...
But can we talk about just pulling the wool over the eyes of the media about the special teams?
We get to...
I was ready to crush him. I was like, schematic? What? He just didn't want to talk about special teams.
He just didn't want Tennessee to know. That's what it was. right? What is the opposite of Mike Eckler being hired on Monday when you're talking on Saturday? No, we're drawing this out. We're really taking our time. You know, they might be here, it might be. We're getting the right guy. Tennessee listens to that, and they're probably like, "Oh, okay, I think they pivoted."
From a source, something might have been up. His dad plays cards with a group of fellas.
Oh,
forgot to show up this weekend for the first time in a while. Well, now his son is, and the family's coming back to Nebraska. All right, that's the news today. February is popping. Do
you remember when I first started? You're like, yeah, you know, you're gonna come in. It's gonna doze off a little bit. It might be a little dry at times. You know, just to start. Nope. No, we've been.
We're talking about the weather, or
no?
Because it has dried up a lot.
And when I first started here,
we did.
We talked, but it's just
July sucks, but it's warm outside. So
July's gonna be fun.
All right, Evan Bland coming up at 8:30. Jacob Bigalow stops by at 9, and more emails on Nebraska basketball. I don't want to overlook that Oregon had some good looks last night and couldn't hit it.
So
Make or miss
Nebraska.
sport, baby. Hey, but you got to get to the rim. It's your
champ.
identity. It's your identity. If your identity is to look all smooth, and you know what? I want to shoot from the outside because that makes more points. But then you know what? My identity is I'm a blue-collar guy that got to get to the rim and finish at the rim, and I'm 22 of 28 from two-point shots last night.
Yeah.
That's my identity. You know what? Don't get out of your lane. Don't try and be somebody you're not. Just be who you are.
Yeah.
And Fred Hoiberg says, you know what? That's who we are. And now we've won 2 in a row, and now we're back in a bracket. And now all of a sudden you people on the radio are like that. The guy that in Omaha in the mornings that said, Nebraska's cooked. You know what? You're cooked. All right, Fred.
Get the ball to the Bianca Sensori, or the rack, as you might call it.
It's Gary Madden, 1620 The Zone. All right, news of the morning. Nebraska's hired a special teams coach that is the complete opposite energy-wise from Ed Foley. Mike Eckler is coming back home. He is leaving Tennessee. He's returning to Nebraska. His parents still live here in Nebraska. He is perfect for a special teams coordinator, good at his job, ton of energy. He once got a tattoo with a recruit's name on it to land that recruit.
I believe it.
He's got all kinds of stories.
I've interviewed him a few times, and yeah.
He once told me that he gets up at 3 a.m. He doesn't drink coffee. I don't know if that's changed since he went to Knoxville because he drinks Red Bull.
Oh, that's wild.
And I was not living here, but I've interviewed him in the past. He ran a marathon on the side of the interstate after Nebraska's defense dominated a spring game. Yeah.
He went out 26.2 miles for himself.
Yeah. So the way that he told the story, so they
that is certifiably
dude's
insane.
a legend in multiple areas.
He said it was in spring, and they had a Friday practice, and it wasn't a good practice. And he just said this because his kids were out of town. His kids and his wife were out of town.
Mm-hmm.
And they had like an early morning scrimmage in spring in Memorial Stadium. And he said, if they have the greatest practice in the history of Nebraska football, I'm going to run a marathon. Now, at the time, Levante David and Will Compton were here.
Yeah.
So they had this like unbelievable practice, and they had a bunch of boosters that were watching the practice as well. And they had this big barbecue. And I don't know if you know this name, but other people will. Joe Moglia was still involved with Nebraska. He was the CEO of TD Ameritrade at the time.
But he was modern Coastal Carolina football.
Him and Bo were tight. And so they had this great practice, and they held him to it. And Mike tells a story that he said, Joe, can you drop me off? You can take I-80 from Lincoln to Omaha. So they went and dropped Mike Eckler off at the 27.5 miles away from the stadium in Lincoln on I-80. And this is the spring, so it's a little bit warm outside. So he just started running.
I started running.
Yeah. And he was more than 20. He said 20 miles into it. And then the state patrol stopped him.
Really?
Yeah.
And then they just put him in a car and brought him back, or did they let
Well,
him
they
keep
told
going?
him so. They told him that you can't run on the side of the interstate because
Sure.
it's illegal.
Did he ask him, do you know how good practice was?
So he got in the back of the police car.
And then promptly, if I had to guess, they probably put him on the treadmill and goes, you got 6.2 left, bud.
Yeah, but it gets better. So
Okay.
he tells this great story. I hope he repeats it. So the officer goes, what's your name? And he said, Mike Eckler. And the officer says, what are you doing, man? Oh, he said, Coach Eck. He goes, what are you doing? And Mike Eckler tells the story. He goes, how far am I from 56th Street? And then the state patrolman goes 2 miles away. And he goes, that's where I'm turning to run to the stadium. Can I just finish it? And the officer was like, I can't, because he get fired if he got hurt, like if he got hit on the side of the interstate. And so the police officer gave him a ride back to the stadium. And so he walks in like he had finished the marathon.
That's a good one. That's good. Isn't that like King of Queens with Kevin James? Like he wins the marathon, like because he took a back route through a salon and he finished way too quickly.
I I hope he gets. He's a great storyteller, and he's throughout his entire career. I mean, it's just not. He's been, Jesus, he's been everywhere.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oklahoma, LSU, Nebraska, Indiana.
He was
Georgia,
at
North Texas,
Jimmy
North
was rooting
Carolina.
for him he was at KU for what, a year?
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
where I got to interview him
He's
a few
coached a lot of
times.
Bears.
He's
Well, look at he went from USC. I think he was with Orgeron at USC, and then he went to Georgia for a couple of years, and then he was out of football 1 or 2 years. And then before he went to KU, I think he was at North Carolina.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Still beloved in Manhattan.
Yes. Yes,
Oh, well, he played linebacker at Kansas State, and that was one of the things. Oh man, back in the '90s, the early '90s, when Nebraska and K-State that was starting to like make some noise.
Mm-hmm.
People were like, freak, can't have a guy from K-State on Nebraska's staff. He actually was perfect for Bo, like the personality-wise. This is a really good addition
He'll be
for
good for this
Nebraska as the special teams coordinator. Comes back to Nebraska from Tennessee. I want to see how much they paid him, and that's okay.
Whatever it is, I don't care.
Nebraska's flushing cash.
Don't care. Don't matter. Don't whatever. Whatever.
Evan Bland coming up in 30 minutes on 1620 The Zone. For people on the
Tourette's?
stream that just saw that,
Killed it.
So now tell us what it is. Now that you can dissect. it.
okay, you know what? It's dead. You just
Stop.
keep
He's dead already.
you keep banging on it over there.
I have no clue what that is. It looks like a firefly that doesn't have a glow
It might be a
stick.
firefly.
Was a fire.
Was.
Was.
Was a firefly.
Rest
All
in
right,
peace.
you've committed murder.
I got it. Did you see
McMurderer.
that athleticism? Did you see that? Did you see how athletic that
Well, I
was?
didn't see the bug, so I didn't know what you're doing. I didn't know if you have a twitch.
Yeah.
Dude.
Good job.
Dude, I was like Hearn. I was waiting.
Chick.
I was waiting. Just who? Tommy, just right here. Just waiting. Just waiting. Yes. Overhand right. Ping, ping, pow, ping, 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 dead.
Come back and haunt him.
Nebraska is hiring Mike Eckler as their special teams coach, the pride of David City, who is here for 3 years under Bo. Will take over, and we'll wait to see what the contract is because Nebraska probably ponied up, and that's a good thing to get a special teams coach who on Saturday I thought, what are we doing with that operation?
Yeah.
Well, I should be incensed by the special teams discussion. You know what? That's okay.
It's all right.
All right.
It's all right. Flaky Jake writes in when he hears the news that Mike Eckler is coming back home. He said, I'll never forget after the Nebraska A&M game in College Station, we were field level walking out, and Eckler sees a bunch of Nebraska fans and yells to us, how about those Big 12 refs, huh? Dan Beebe can go F himself. We all started cheering.
That's good.
I remember
That's
that
the type
night
of guy-
well.
Hey, that's the type of guy they're missing a little bit over there. You know, like they got
Little fire and brimstone.
They need some fiery. You know, you need some intensity. You need some.
Man, I
you know,
miss him.
Let me tell you something right now. You need some coaches who are gonna get in players' faces, and you also need some players who can get in coaches' faces. There is a benefit to having some guys on your team that aren't afraid to tell the coach, no, screw you. Or like, hey, no, I'm going to do it this way. Or, hey, I'm going to go and play. I'm going to play. Seriously. Now, if you have too many of those guys.
I got you.
Right,
Parcells operated that
It's
way.
a culture problem if you have too many of them, but you need a couple, and you need a couple coaches like that.
Confrontation is healthy.
All right. So what do you think? I'll ask you two questions here. Okay. First question, and this is, I love to do this. 1.2.5 million over under.
For a special teams coach?
Yeah.
No.
No,
Okay. Well,
No.
you said the bag.
But consider not that range,
Okay.
but more than
More
usual
than
for a special teams coach. Because the general feeling was
What was
that
his-
he really liked Tennessee and it would take a lot to get him to come back home because he's done this before. So I think Nebraska probably said, what will it take? What will it take?
So the highest paid college football special teams coordinator is Jeff Banks at $1.15 million at Texas. Mike Reed is $900,000 at Clemson.
What's LeVar Woods make?
LeVar Woods makes $700,000.
Okay.
In
So,
2023, that number actually, so Reed got a raise in 2024. So in 2023, he was making $800,000, then he was making $900,000.
Mike Eckler made $575,000, the last available salary for him.
So the Florida State guy makes $750,000. John Papachuis. I know I said that name wrong. I know that's it. I said that name so wrong. I know who he is. I've just never said
Rolls
his
off
name
the tongue.
before.
Papuchis.
Papuchis. I know. I know I was
Old
going to
friend.
mess that up. I know who he is, guys. I know who he is. I just said the name wrong. Okay? 750. Papuchis. 750,000.
He said papuchis.
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 Yeah, he did it well.
You know what? It's coming up on Lent. We'll have a papuchis. Go to the grocery store and get us a papuchis.
Is that an actual? Is a papuchis?
Just get a little a punchki and a papuchis.
Then you can go to a fish fry. We got lots of them.
I know, because I know Papuchis is a Nebraska former Nebraska coach and everything like that. But I
Close
just
to
didn't
Vinny.
know how to. I just didn't know how to say his.
It's a papuchis.
750,000. Florida State. So you think he's above that or below that?
Well, I mean, it looks like they're still paying a tight end coach a lot of money. They do have a little extra money left over because you did not go through the stratosphere with coordinators, but I think he will be well compensated. I would not surprise me if he is one of the top paid special teams coaches.
I think it's probably at that number, probably around the 750,000 range. I think he gets that big of a raise to move his family from Knoxville to Nebraska, go from there to Nebraska. I think that's what it costs, and he gets paid. I mean, he's coached like one of the top coordinators. He'll get paid like one of the top coordinators.
This is going to tick people off around the country because people are going to celebrate this today. Hang the banner.
Chiefs already won?
Ooh, that's next Monday.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know.
All right.
As we start Super Bowl week, and
Are
I
you
ask,
getting nervous?
I'm not nervous, but this will be the toughest opponent that Kansas City has played. But I'm ready.
But they got Spags.
But I'm ready for the conversation that if Kansas City happens to win next Sunday, I'm ready for the big conversations. But I'm also ready for media day tonight where somebody goes, did Caesar really play here in the Superdome? I would like that question to be
I miss
asked.
old media day.
My other question after the over-under salary conversation was, do you think in that announcement, it's announced that Satterfield is getting a pay decrease? Or are we just rolling with the $1.4 million tight ends coach?
I think that it is, if you are in the Matt Rule circle of trust and you are named Ed Foley and Marcus Satterfield, you'll be taken care of for the rest of your life.
Okay.
Nothing negative will be ever said about you.
Okay. Because it wasn't a schematic problem. No, nothing schematic about it. Was, when you have the worst special teams unit for 2 years, there were zero schematic issues. It was just because of the snapper, and maybe we weren't running hard enough. But no scheme. No scheme was wrong.
Do you think he was just trolling?
I think he was defending his guy.
He knows.
I don't think he was ever going to go out on the limb and say that Ed wasn't a good coach or wasn't good enough or wasn't the right position for him or anything like that. I don't think he was ever going to do that because you're right. As long as you're Ed Foley or Marcus Satterfield, you're going to be okay. You're going to be safe.
You have been good to Rule in your career.
Exactly.
And Rule is going to be good to you.
Exactly.
So on the 3rd of February, the special teams coordinator is still listed as Ed Foley.
Look,
soon to be ambassador
and the
to
snapper
program.
is no longer. I mean,
he was not mentioned.
Yeah, he wasn't mentioned by name, but it was known.
But the old megabus just went.
Man, just backing up and rolling over again.
How many wheels are on this bus?
Reverse, drive, reverse, drive.
Did you run over him on the left side and then run all the way back around? Hey, get these other set of tires, bud.
You think we got him?
Bernie tweets at the show. He goes, I love the Eckler hire. Nothing else will bring a high level of effort and intensity special teams haven't had for a while. They're also, so Mike Eckler's coming into a good situation because I also think they have built their special teams back up through the portal. Not just a long snapper and a punter. They have gotten some return guys and some guys that elsewhere also played on special teams. So they've tried to fix that. The one thing about the offseason, and there's still like the intangibles that I'm going to look at, they have figured out what they need and have addressed that. Like there's not a position group where they've like ignored. They're like, oh, that was a glaring thing last year.
Sure.
We're not going to just let it be a glaring thing. So at least they have done that where they've coached themselves into options. But more on special teams. Bernie tweets in. I saw Frank Beamer talking about his great special teams, and he talked about schemes for blocking kicks was 15% speed and effort. We're at 85%. He always flooded his special teams with receivers and DBs. Good point, because look at where there are an abundance of players right now at Nebraska.
Sure. That is a great point. I have an interesting question for you.
Yeah.
So we were like the second Matt Rule came in here, and it wasn't just said from him, but it was said from everyone that had reported on in the past was, look, year 1 is going to be a rebuilding year. Year 2 is when they take the step. Year 3 is when they make the big jump. I think we all thought, though, at least I thought, that heading into year 3, it would be okay, we have the horses. We're ready to go. The system is set. This is priming for this team to go and make that big jump.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like with what they've done in this offseason, that hasn't been the case. They have done a lot in terms of roster reconstruction, talent acquisition, and coaching reconstruction and coaching acquisition to the point where it's not so much that this third year is going to be a big jump because, man, they prepared the program and they got the boys ready and they developed and they're ready to go. It's going to be more so because they made a big swing in a big way in a lot of big places in order for them to take that jump to the next level. Now, they still do have the pillars of their culture, and they still have the pillars of talent, like Dylan Raiola, like Ja'Cory Barney, like Cam Lenhart. The list goes on, that they got in that ready. But their big jump that they could take in year 3 is going to be them going from 7 to 8 wins to 9 to 10 wins potentially because of the 16 guys they got in the portal and the new coaches they went and they hired. And I just didn't. That's not something I expected. I didn't expect this year 3 jump to be because of a big swing in terms of money and talent and coaching. I thought it would just be because, all right, we've been priming for this for 2 years. You know these guys already. We don't have a whole lot of holes to fill. Here we go, year 3. Let's have a big year. It's just an interesting contrast.
I could see that. Do you think they made so look at the roster the first 2 years. They didn't run people off when they got here. And they had a lot of guys that say, hey, Coach Rule, I'm in it for GBR. I just want to go to a bowl game. And so Rule didn't clean house. He kept those guys. And so they were a little bit older because he made a promise to them that if you stick with me, especially into the second year, because he said that he told the seniors that it would be a rough first year, but hang with me. I'm going to get you to where you want to go in year number 2. And so they had guys that kind of hung on that played, but
maybe it was time.
They hung on. And so then you get that top end of year 2 where you rewarded them with a bowl trip, and now you make the transition to you have more control over your roster. I think, and Rule gets a mulligan. He's taken more control of his roster now than he's had in his first 2 years here, because I think he was committed. And I think the general premise in his discussion with Trev is you don't do that at Nebraska. You know, you're not going to run guys off. And then we sat down with guys were like, man, I'm in it, coach. I'll do whatever you want. And so he's like, yeah, I'm with you. Hey, we want you. We want as many guys here as possible. And now those guys have moved on, and now you have control of your roster. And so you have more guys that have been with you longer that they only know you as the coach. And so that's the only culture they know.
So do you think maybe because in Baylor and Temple, he cleared out the older guys and started playing the younger guys and had them, they struggled, but they developed through the games that they were playing. Mm-hmm. Do you think in a sense, because the first 2 years were a lot of older players and honoring those older players and honoring that promise and having them play, do you think that maybe year 3 at Nebraska could be more resemblant of year 2? Because the younger guys in the past programs that he was at, they got to play in year 1 and year 2. That's not the same.
You mean year 2 like at Temple and Baylor?
Yeah.
I don't know. No.
Because the timeline is off.
But I don't want to make these comparisons because
that's fine.
Nebraska is Nebraska.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Temple and Baylor are completely different compared to the beast that is Nebraska.
Yeah.
So I know that it's out there that year 3 makes that jump, but there's no guarantee.
Yeah.
Temple and Baylor are not where Nebraska is and in the Big Ten Conference.
And in terms of just importance and pressure.
The guard, the blueprint and stuff, yes, but it's a different animal. So I don't like to compare it.
Sure.
I'm just looking at year 3 here. He has more control over the roster.
Yeah.
And you're right. He and his beginning at both of those places where they really hadn't had success, he could do that.
Yeah.
It's not like Nebraska had success, but I think it was more the mindset of, we don't do that here, Matt. And then he sat down and he was a complete outsider. And all these guys are like, man, coach, I'm in it. This is all I want to do. And he's like, gotcha. We're fine. Just stick it in here and just stick with me and we'll get you there.
I think the staff is
he gets
much better than where it was.
He gets a mulligan because he's had time to assess the landscape of Nebraska, the landscape of the Big Ten, the landscape of college football, and adjust. He had to get off to a quick start. He thought the best way was a lot more familiarity. People were probably not in positions where they could have succeeded. Like Garrett McGuire probably would have been better as a quarterback coach than a wide receiver coach here.
Yeah.
And I think Garrett McGuire will turn out to be a really good coach.
Me too.
But he had to get started quicker, had to make some decisions on the fly. He had some upheaval on his staff. I mean, you have a tight end coach who was here just strictly so that you could recruit in the Dallas area, was not ready to coach at Division I, got in trouble. Yeah, you lost your defensive back coach. You know,
you lost your D-line coach. Yeah. You lost your DC.
I judge people on, we all go through adversity and we all have failures and we learn from our failures. Is how do you learn from your failure? Okay. I would say in the recreation of the staff, he's learned mistakes that, maybe held him back in the first 2 years. Now they fix those, whether it be your roster or guys with headsets. I mean, that's at least encouraging. And then you can start working on the other intangible stuff that has gotten in the way of Nebraska not winning games that has nothing to do with the Jimmies and the Joes.
I think another thing, too, that you have to talk about is I really do think that this change in assistant coaches really is just the change of mindset. When he first came in here, The mindset was establish the culture. We have our own unique culture. There are unique things that Matt Rule does that other programs don't do. He talked about it his last press conference. We make everybody eat meals together. We make everybody have every single meal at the training facility. We go to movies at away games together that you're required. We have team events, right? We have to establish, we have these super insane winter workout mat drills that are terrible, but they're going to get you better. We have to establish the culture. Heading into year 3, what is this year all about, Gary? It's about winning. They just got to win.
Yeah.
And so he got
I'm
coaches
glad that it's about winning
who are
because
used to winning.
I'm over fancy press conferences where you tickle my loins and stuff like that.
You're done with winning the press conference. You want to win the game.
Yeah.
I think that's where we're at.
Well, I've said this for a long time. Matt Rule is proven to be really, really good between January and July.
Yeah.
Like he does things the right way and is a good PR rep for Nebraska. But I need my guy that's in that role to be good from August to December. Okay? That's where he hasn't mastered that yet.
No.
The other part, he's done really, really well. But now it's time to work on August to December.
And you get paid for everything. You get paid for everything, and all those months compile, and they all have to do with whether or not you're going to have success. But at the end, you can be the greatest January, and I know we're in lockstep here. You can be the greatest January to July guy. But if you're not a good August to December guy, it does not give a damn
Yeah, I don't
what
care.
you're doing before
Well, your
that.
clock is ticking then.
Absolutely.
All right.
But I'm going to do a real quick study here. I'm going to go back. I'm going to see how many years of experience this staff now has compared to the first staff go around. I guarantee you it's going to be tenfold.
Evan Bland coming up before the hour's over. Jacob Bigalow as well as Mr. Energy. Mike Eckler is back. They're going to be loading up on Red Bull all over Lincoln.
NIL deal?
2 coaches, lots of Red Bull.
Yes. Boy, I wonder if Dana and Eckler have ever... Wow, they're going to have some...
Red Bull's Coke, right?
They have some odd characters on that staff. Hey, I've also found another thing why Nebraska football has really struggled that has to do with a beverage or food item.
Oh, my God. I love that.
All right. Evan Bland from the World Herald. Join us here in about 20 minutes on 1620 The Zone. Hey, it's Super Bowl week. That lead-in with the Pro Bowl yesterday got everybody ready for the Super Bowl between Philadelphia and Kansas City.
Did you watch 1 second of the Pro Bowl?
Nope. And let me just have a moment here about the Pro Bowl.
Go, have your moment.
We all get nostalgic and think about Aloha Stadium.
Should I play taps?
There's too much money involved, so it won't go away. But it has, it's lessened. I also would like anybody out there that continues to, when you talk about players' legacies, reference Pro Bowl appearances to get laryngitis. Because in the past, it used to be that. Like when the Pro Bowl was a big deal and you didn't have, I don't know why we keep like adding to the Pro Bowl, like players. Like, okay, well, we don't need to be adding, the eighth best offensive tackle does not need to be in the Pro Bowl, but he is because the other four have opted out. But it used to be reference, Super Bowl MVP, Pro Bowl appearances.
Yeah.
And they made some, it was like a big deal. We need to stop that because everybody now gets to play in the Pro Bowl except for the two teams that are playing in the Super Bowl.
So at what point did All-Star games stop mattering for Hall of Fame resumes in almost like all sports? Because it seems like ever since this fan vote and just obvious want to create a narrative that these things stop mattering. Yeah. And what I mean by that is Mitch Trubisky was a Pro Bowler his second year when the Bears went 12-4. Mm-hmm. Well, Mitch was a Pro Bowler because he had a solid year, but they wanted to end the 30 years without a Pro Bowl quarterback streak in Chicago. Yeah. So they voted him in. Drake May's a Pro Bowler this year. Mm-hmm. Drake May played well. Drake May should not be a Pro Bowler this year. But why is he a Pro Bowler? So he can say, well, we have two rookie quarterbacks who are Pro Bowlers this year. Man, the future really is bright, right? There became a certain point. Quentin Nelson didn't make 2 Pro Bowls, but was a first-team All-Pro his first 2 seasons in the NFL. It's just incredible to me.
I'm a big All-Pro, not Pro Bowl.
Well, All-Pro because there's educated people who have a line and a standard who go, okay, here's the standard. You have to reach this standard amongst these people in order to be an All-Pro. So that matters. The Pro Bowl and the NBA and the NFL, or the Pro Bowl, the NBA and the MLB, it's all popularity contest. It's all popularity contest.
Well, also when they, people cared about it.
Yeah.
That was a big deal. Especially in baseball, it was referenced a lot when, they used to play 2 All-Star games. But when it used to be a big deal, American League versus National League. But when they started, it became more of the exhibition feel. I know they've always been exhibition, but when it became even more of an exhibition feel,
sure,
I think that's when it lessened it. But using the Pro Bowl as a reference of, John Smith has been in 7 Pro Bowls. You know what? So have I.
Well, Chris Bryant made the All-Star game.
All-Pro.
2015, he made the All-Star game. He hit 250 that year. 2017, he had arguably a better year than the year prior where he won the MVP. He wasn't an All-Star. Why the hell does that make sense? It does not make sense. And just All-Star games in general. It really is if you want to talk about the Hall of Fame, you have a line. Hey, here's the line. You need this many catches, this many yards, this many touchdowns. If you hit 3 out of the 5 or 4 out of the 6, you're in. That's it. The whole Pro Bowl, All-Pro, get out of here.
Let me look here. Again, the arrival of the teams for the Super Bowl was so quiet yesterday.
So quiet. Did you see what Travis was wearing? He was looking good. He's got a nice little jumpsuit.
I did.
That guy's got sty.
Sty?
He's got icky sty.
Oh, wait a minute. They
I've
are
had a sty before.
Get Up is talking about the Super Bowl.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, my man. Well, no, they're talking about Patrick Mahomes, who is a diehard Maverick fan, going through it. Of
3 stages of grief.
Yes.
Did you see they stormed the Dallas Mavericks arena?
Yeah, they had a funeral outside.
Yeah. It was
they
crazy.
Obviously didn't see the 92-93 Mavericks.
Mark Cuban must be a huge college basketball fan because he has turned all of his Maverick fans into college basketball fans.
There are literally 3 people you would not trade for Luka Doncic, and that is it. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Nikola Jokic, and Cooper Flagg. And none of those 3 guys were involved in that trade. That's how you just know it's bad.
Well, they have the 18 draft. They had Brunson and Luka, and now both are gone. They got traded.
they've had a weird stretch of like just bringing in guys and then guys like Porzingis, Dennis Smith Jr. You've had, I think Nurkic was on that team at one point.
Graham
Like
Dantley.
well, that's all the way back in the day. Mark Aguirre, if you want to get real granular, Jimmy.
I mean, they traded him.
Yeah, they traded Mark
Yeah.
Aguirre to the Pistons.
But look at this. So it's Super Bowl week. I get there's Philadelphia, Kansas City. We're doing this again. Man, Adam Silver is loving this. All the talking head shows today are going to talk about the NBA. They're not going to talk about actually the games.
Right.
No, no.
Like Dallas giving up 91 in the first half yesterday probably will not be referenced, but it'll all be about transactions. But the Super Bowl, and it's media night tonight. Oh, I got upset yesterday because there were people like, I think Taylor and Travis are going to break up.
They
Why?
always say this based on
what they say? Because he won't be at the Grammys with her. And I was like, you
He's
know what?
working.
They're flying to New Orleans for the Super Bowl. He's with his team. And there was some commentators like, he could go to LA and be with
my
Taylor and then he
Lord.
could fly. No, he flies with his team to the Super Bowl. The man is working. But that's okay. They
the man is-
they don't understand his schedule. They don't understand football. But what I understand about the Super Bowl upcoming, because you're starting to get teases of the commercials, are we back with Bud Light? Is Bud Light back?
We're going to get the Bud Bowl?
Like, not the Bud Bowl,
Ah,
but Shane Gillis and Post Malone are doing the Bud Light commercial, and they've started to tease like the extended version. And there's a couple of more. I think Bud Light is back this Super Bowl.
You know how funny it is that they had their marketing director being like, all right, we have to get away from the frat beer and everything like that. And it went so terribly that now they're actually doubling down on what they were before in order to get the audience back. Like, that must be the worst marketing job done ever in American history. Not because
it
of
ain't broke,
it
don't
has
fix
no-
it.
No. It has nothing to do with the message they were trying to send out. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with the principle that you try to get away from a message you sent, and then the other message you sent went so terribly that you had to revert back to the message you were trying to get away from threefold. It is one of the worst marketing jobs done ever.
They all can't be
Because
bangers.
Shane Gillis is the ultimate frat drinker type guy that, like, oh my God, Shane Gillis, he's the type of guy you want to grab a beer with. Bud Light probably gave him so much money. Good for him.
I don't know who that is, but I would drink with Post Malone.
Shane Gillis is having one hell of a year. Have you seen his girlfriend too? Holy Lord.
I have not, but he enjoyed his Notre Dame time.
He's having a good year. Guy's getting famous. His college football team's winning. His girlfriend is
He was canceled from Saturday Night Live.
really, why?
Well, he had some comments. And
Are you gonna watch SNL 50?
the documentary.
No, it's like the big show. They're having like a big SNL 50th anniversary.
I probably
show.
will. They have
The 16th.
Is it on
February 16th.
One of the streaming services has a like 4-parter on Saturday Night Live.
Oh,
Yeah,
probably watch it.
that's what I want to watch.
It's fun.
I think Bud Light is back.
I mean, my favorite beer is free beer, and then my second favorite beer is the next one, and then my third favorite beer is cold beer. So I don't really have.
Those are good combos.
And then fourth is Miller Lite, and fifth is Old Style. But
That's a good list.
free, next, cold, Miller Lite, Old Style.
You're young. You'll reach that level where you're like,
Yeah.
you know what, I can pick and choose.
Yeah.
He's got Milwaukee and Chicago in that list. I like it.
All right, Evan Bland from the World Herald coming up. Mike Eckler is being added to Nebraska staff as the new special teams coordinator. He's coming back. Does that mean Bo's coming back? Will Bo come to a game?
No.
Does he still talk to Bo?
Maybe.
A long time ago. See, you can come back home 15 years later. The pride of David City.
You always come back.
Evan Bland stops by with some thoughts on some other things that Matt Rule said this weekend and moving forward after, I'd say, a nice little run for Nebraska athletics.
Yeah. No, it's been a good 10 days.
Huh. We'll talk to Evan. Jacob Bigalow will stop by before the show is through on a Monday on 1620 The Zone. All right, let's chat with a good friend, Evan Bland from the Omaha World Herald. Good morning.
Morning, guys.
Let me just let me get this right out of the way right away. And I don't know if you're a card playing person, but there was a gentleman that was in front of the media on Saturday, and he was asked about his special teams coordinator, the search for it, and he said, "quote Yeah, it's not filled yet." Matter of factly, I would say that he said that. He said the position probably won't be a recruiting position, so we're doing some interviews and we're taking our time. It's Monday morning, and Mike Eckler is going to be the new special teams coordinator. Do you think that Matt Rule is a good or bad poker player?
That's a good question because he's really forthright, I think, as much as he can be in these media sessions, more than most coaches, and we've seen a ton of examples of that. But I think he's shrewd about it too. Like he's truthful with a purpose. Oftentimes, it seems like we may be speaking to players or whatnot. So yeah, I think he's one of those guys that you probably feel like if you're at a table with him, you feel like you've got him pegged after a few hands, and you can read him. And then he's probably going to do something way out there. He's probably going to have a big bluff or something like that. So yeah, I mean, he's too smart not to be probably a calculating card player, and maybe put on a little bit of a poker face on Saturday. Who knows?
Is it safe to say that this coaching staff is just the complete opposite of what it was previously when he first got here?
Wow, Mike Eckler from 08. I mean, yeah, it's at that time.
No, I mean, I'm talking about Rule, when Rule hired his staff.
Oh, when Rule got here.
When Rule, like the first staff that Rule hired, is it safe to say that, I mean, it's just almost completely opposite now than it was a couple of years ago? Minus the guys who stuck around.
Yeah, in the sense that there's more experience, sure, and NFL experience and college experience, yes. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, Eckler's been around. He's 4 years with a team that was just in the CFP and had really good special teams for a while. You're still waiting on Terry Braden to coach your defensive line until after the Super Bowl. He's been there for 8 years with Kansas City. So he'll be a first-time assistant position coach, but he's kind of like Terrence Knighton was, but he'll be coming in with a ton of X's and O's experience and can talk about Super Bowl rings and Chris Jones. And I mean, yeah, you can kind of go down the line. I mean, Satterfield's still on staff, more in a specific role. Obviously, Holgerson has head coaching experience. John Butler has a different background than what Tony White did a year ago. So yeah, I think you've kind of heard about that. Matt Rule has talked about that in the past, where it's maybe it takes a couple of years with a staff to kind of figure out what it takes to win in your league, at your school, who's a fit, who's not. And we've seen a good amount of turnover. So guys have moved on either willingly or not. And they feel like now they have football experts, guys who've been through the ringer at different levels, and we'll see how much it pays off. But I think just in terms of their X's and O's experience, and then also some of the guys they have out recruiting, the Keith Williams, the Jamar Moseys of the world and beyond, like it feels like they have taken advantage of this reality now where you don't have just the 10 on-field guys that are doing everything. It feels like there's more of a specialization of X's and O's and recruiting, and how they mesh all that together is kind of what they're doing right now.
Hey, they're acting like a big boy football program.
Yeah.
It's actually very refreshing to see. The spring game was a big discussion about altering the spring game and the reasoning behind it. I wish Rule would have just said, we just don't have the numbers, guys. But he went into tampering and that stuff. But do you think that, I mean, how quickly do you think, Evan, the rest of the college football world will just follow kind of what Nebraska did? Because Nebraska, it's been hinted around the sport, but Matt Rule was the first one that came out and basically said, hey, this is what spring football is becoming. How soon do you think the rest of the college football world kind of follows Nebraska's lead?
I'd say pretty quickly. I mean, how many examples do we have now of Matt Rule saying something that sort of seems radical, and then it comes to fruition? I mean, you think about the 4-team Big Ten teams in the CFP thing, and you think about his comments on how much a quarterback cost a year ago and how that's manifested. This kind of feels like another one of those things. And it was an interesting thought, because I think the assumption was, well, yeah, maybe you won't have it, but it'll be because you don't want guys to get hurt, or because what you're investing in them financially. I don't know that I had heard anywhere publicly a coach saying we're worried about tampering in the spring game. And of course, then going on to say tampering doesn't exist. And really all you're doing is putting your players out there for other people to make offers to. Incidentally, that spring game would occur after the close of the portal window too. So like that tells you even more about just how much of an open market free for all this thing has become. And so, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. Certainly as someone in the media, the spring game was not something I looked forward to necessarily every year. But I think what it does is it opens the door for more creative things on that day. You still, if you're the athletic department, you still want to monetize that day or that event in some way. Maybe it's a skills competition. Maybe it's just an open practice. Maybe it's something else. They have a lot of creative folks over there that are going to find a way to, channel that passion that Nebraska fans have. And I'm sure they'll find a way to raise money and NIL funds or whatever else it might be. So I think it's an opportunity to do something different. But I mean, to have that articulated, that the spring game could come to an end because you're afraid of other schools seeing how good your guys are. I mean, what a statement about the current status of college athletics right now. So I think Matt Rule carries a lot of weight. I think people at other schools, other coaches respect his insights. That's one of his, I think, gifts, is to be adaptable and to see the bigger picture on things. So yeah, I think, depending on what Nebraska does to be creative with that thing in April, it might be that kind of unofficial moment where the spring game that people have known and been used to for decades turns into something else.
Maybe you've already mentioned it, but what was your biggest takeaway from the 30-minute press conference?
I mean, the spring game was certainly up there. I thought the thoughts on the 105 were really interesting. And he's touched on a little bit of that before, but just this notion that you're essentially crafting an NFL 53-man, or he called it a 57-man, and then maybe you craft a third team, and then you leave your bottom 10 spots for culture guys, or for guys who are productive in practice. Or for him to mention Roman Mangini is interesting. Like I think when you have a roster that size, like it gives you the ability to value different things and to show that in different ways. Like I think some schools would probably say, we want those spots for guys to redshirt. We want those spots for developmental guys. And Rule essentially said, we want those guys, those spots for guys who bring us some juice in practice and can contribute on scout team, and maybe provide some of that spirit that people have associated with the local walk-on program and guys for a long time. So I thought that was interesting. The thing he slipped in on Dasan McCullough as an edge rusher was notable. My assumption had been he might be a rover or outside linebacker type, but for him to be bulked up, that's fascinating. And then the offensive line piece as well. I mean, he spoke about this being a really big spring for a lot of these younger guys who are redshirt freshmen, second year type guys. And maybe that conversation changes a little bit now with Rocco Spindler committing. But I think that kind of was a reminder that that's a really fascinating position group this spring, when you really have three guys who are rotational players back, and so many of these younger up and comers now that are going to be in the mix. So I thought it was a packed press conference, a lot of really interesting things as usual, not a surprise there. So it'll be interesting to see how we get going here.
You think Spindler could be Nebraska's best offensive lineman?
Yeah, I think it's possible. Yes, I think so. You look at his recruiting pedigree out of high school. He could have gone anywhere. Goes to Notre Dame. To hear his family talk about it, this wasn't a money grab as much as an opportunity to go elsewhere. And maybe Notre Dame was kind of ready to see what its next step was with its offensive line. So, I mean, he's kind of got all the pieces that you're looking for. He's got that little streak of nasty. If you listen to some of his interviews, like he doesn't really seem to care all that much, like in a good way. Insightful guy. Big obviously has the genes with his dad being a longtime NFL player on the other side of the ball. And so, yeah, I mean, you put in a guy like that with sort of a group that's ready to take that next step, right? You've got your Justin Evans, who's been a starter for a while, but kind of now he moves into more of a leadership role, and Henry Lutusky, kind of the same thing. We don't really know about Turner Corcoran and Teddy Prohaska, kind of when they, if and when they feel like they're going to be full go and ready to roll. So, yeah, I think Spindler comes in as someone who's been a mainstay for multiple years in college football. Just played in the CFP championship game. I think he's wired in a way to be sort of a leader and a guy who can set the standard along with Donovan Raiola. So probably a sneaky important addition, and sort of a surprising one too, in the sense that Nebraska was going after tackles so hard in the portal, and they end up getting an interior lineman. But maybe that frees him up to do some other things on the edge. Lutovsky potentially could play tackle now. Maybe this frees him up to do that. So we'll see. But no doubt they closed their portal cycle with a bang, getting Spindler.
We haven't had you on since Heinrich Haarberg stepped out onto the hardwood floor, and everyone was jaw dropped onto the floor when they saw how much, just mass he's gained, and he looks like a tight end. My question to you, Evan, and you're really good at articulating this type of stuff. Like, what are the realistic expectations for Heinrich Haarberg? He's a great athlete. At the same time, he hasn't played tight end before, really.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation for him. Like you said, you kind of see some of his off-season gains on display. Everyone knew he was explosive. 2 years ago, we were talking about him as an H-back, and you had Marcus Satterfield at the time saying he wants him to put his shoulder into guys, but he's still a quarterback. And so, like, he's a guy that is right out of a Matt Rule laboratory. Like, he's got all the measurables, the explosiveness, the strength. Like, he tests as one of the better, more capable athletes on the entire roster. And as they've said, and they didn't necessarily do a ton of it last year, like, you can't have that guy on the sidelines all the time. He's too physically gifted. He's a student of the game, right? He knows the plays, all the rest. So how do you get him on the field and move him to tight end? And it's a fascinating spot, I think, especially when you pair him with a guy like Luke Lindenmeyer, who we saw as a very willing and able blocker in a Pinstripe Bowl. You pair him with Haarberg, who's explosive, who can run downfield, who's not afraid to put his shoulders into somebody. It's an interesting spot. And I think you can tell Nebraska's confidence in him and in that position by how quiet they were in the portal recruiting tight ends. They were after a lot of other positions, but you didn't see him bring in anybody at that spot. And then I think people forget about Mac Markway as well. The guy comes over from LSU. He should be probably ready to roll, you would think, if not this spring, then this summer. That's a guy who everybody was after in high school too. So it's a sneaky, interesting position group where you lose your top two guys in Fedoni and Nate Borkerture. But you can just tell they're really, I think, happy with that position. And that's another interesting spring battle that's going to play out. It'll be fascinating to see how they use Haarberg. I think his success is going to be as much in how the coaches use him as what he's doing, individually with his own body.
Hey, something or nothing, because, his body gets shamed when you're wearing a Smedium Tominaga jersey over the turtleneck, and I mean, Dylan's got that dad bod, but it's been out there. Rule has never really talked about it. Surprised you on Saturday that he was walking through like things he wants in year two of Dylan. One thing, Evan, I was taken back by was Dylan wanted wide receivers to work out with him, and there weren't many guys that were showing up. I thought that was curious that Rule said that. Something or nothing, that Rule slipped in his weight, because he said getting his weight to a proper weight, and then he said continuing to learn the offense and the fundamentals.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think it was notable. And then Sam McEwen follows up and says, what is that weight? And Rule doesn't want to share my weight? I can tell you my weight.
Yeah, that's right.
But no, I think it's somewhat related to, certainly some of it's just being in the system, being in the strength and nutrition programs and growing and all that, and growing as a player. I mean, he's not even 20, I don't think yet. But part of it, I think, too, is an acknowledgement that Nebraska wants him to run a little bit more and maybe be Just pick those spots occasionally. Certainly he's not going to be a running quarterback, but you look all over the NFL, the best guys, his guy, Patrick Mahomes, can run the ball and kind of cripple that defense on a third and medium when they've got everything locked downfield, and he can run for 5 or 6. So I think that's probably a little bit of it as well. And, the leadership piece, to me, I think that's just a natural growth thing too. Like when you're a younger person, if you're one of the youngest guys on the team and you call and you're texting guys and they say, maybe we'll be there. I think there's a natural inclination to say, well, I tried, I reached out and they said no, or some of them said no. And so you move on and make the most of it. At some point, I think what Matt Rule's talking about is you make that switch from sort of doing it to like insisting upon it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where he is now. This is his team now. And I thought the Pinstripe Bowl post-game presser was a great example of that, where a lot of these outgoing seniors said, now this is your team now. It wasn't necessarily his team last year. It was the seniors team. It was those 5th and 6th year guys' squad, and they were trying to end on the winning season. It feels like this is his team now. So you're to the point where, first, if you're somebody else and Dylan Rail is texting you, you better be showing up. Yeah. And second, if these guys aren't showing up, you're Dylan freaking Raiola. Like you need to be like, hey, get out here. This is what we're doing. This is what we're all about. So I think that's kind of part of what Matt Rule's talking about here with that next step in things of how, this team's going to be a little bit more Raiola's and maybe he's going to have to be a little bit more insistent again on this being his team and this is how they're going to do things.
Yeah, well, it's a luxury to have going into year number 2 with a guy with institutional knowledge. Evan, as always, we appreciate it. Next week when we stop by, we're going to talk baseball because it's warming up.
Yeah.
Baseball gets started a week from Friday.
Can't wait. Should be a lot of fun.
Yep. Hey, are you traveling at the beginning of the year? You going to any of these tournaments?
Not the Arizona one on opening weekend. I'm hopeful maybe the Frisco Classic when they're playing.
Got to get you out there.
I've been down there before. It's a great park. They've got a lazy river in right field. It's never warm enough when I'm there to use it. Not that I would anyway, but it is there.
Awesome. Great stuff, Evan. Thank you.
Thanks, Evan.
Thanks, guys.
I'll take that trip.
Heck yeah.
I'll put on a little sunscreen.
How do you feel about pools and stadiums? I'm not a big fan. I think it's a little overdone now. I think it was cool when it first happened.
You won't have one at Wrigley?
No, they keep adding things to Wrigley. Wrigley's a joke.
Oh, I agree.
They just keep taking the cheap seats and making them these expensive fan experiences. It's absolutely embarrassing.
You will not find me out in right field in Phoenix at the Diamondbacks, but the pool that is doesn't get a lot of run because you don't really see a game from there. The one in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Oh my.
There's some iconic moments in that pool. Some dirty water. Duval.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I hadn't heard that since Friday. Jacob Bigalow. We'll talk some hoops. The Undertaker is back. He has risen.
Dung.
We'll talk about the Royal Rumble as well.
Heck yeah, we will. What an upset.
John Cena looked a little old.
Yeah, he's got to go bald again.
Yeah. I wonder if he will go heel.
That presser, we can talk about it. That was awesome.
All right, Biggs joins us next. All right. It's time to talk some hoops with Mr. Husker Hoophead, Jacob Bigalow. Just when you think you're out, you're already thinking about the portal, thinking about coaching changes, thinking about warm vacations in April. Nebraska basketball wins 2 in a row against ranked teams, and all of a sudden they're in a bracket. Good morning, Jacob Bigalow.
Yeah, what a difference a week makes, huh? We were, I think it's going to be a little bit of a different vibe than when we talked last, but that's the beauty of basketball season. All it takes is a couple results, and the mood and mantra can all do a complete 180.
All right, so you can, we'll follow your lead, because I have said Nebraska's cooked. I said that after the Rutgers game. I said I was just going to enjoy Thursday night for what it was. Last night I watched, and there was part of me that said Oregon's going to come back here. Oregon's going to come back. But Oregon couldn't hit any shots, and they couldn't stop Bryce Williams. And I thought, man, Nebraska's going to win this game, and they're fighting it now because they're on a losing streak, and they got to go to Michigan State and Michigan. So then I made the mistake because it's like a drug. You get addicted, and I started to look at the schedule ahead. But let's start with the last 2 games. Would you like to explain what is happening here? Because the Lancaster County morgue was ready to reserve a spot for Nebraska basketball. And all of a sudden, that's 2 wins over ranked teams. What's happening?
I mean, I'm not going to say that they're like going to completely turn it around, but if they come close to doing so, I think someone is going to have to try to make an effort to tell the story of whatever the come to Jesus meeting was before that Illinois game, because that may be one of the more important stories to tell. There's still a ways to go. There's still 9 games left, but I mean, listening back, I know it's 2 games ago now, but if you go back and listen to that pregame availability with Fred Hoiberg and Andrew Morgan before Illinois, I mean, you could see just how much like they were clearly going through it, how much I said it on one of the like 1,000 podcasts I've done in the last week. Like, I mean, it sounded like they basically had the Festivus episode of Seinfeld and just got it all off their chest and like let it all fly. And they were going through an identity crisis, and their results since then is back-to-back wins over ranked teams. 1 at home, 1 on the road. You can say what you want about the team they beat last night. I think they were already a weird team coming in. But Big Ten basketball this year, when people will always say, you got to in the fall, you got to know how to play Big Ten football. You got to win ugly. The story of Big Ten basketball this season is not winning ugly; it's winning weird games. And Nebraska won. It's needed. It's not. You got to win ugly. You got to win weird. And I'll be damned if Nebraska has not won back-to-back weird basketball games when they needed it more than anything.
Jacob Bigalow, podcast guest in perpetuity. I got a stat for you here, and you're going to tell me if you're buying it or if you're selling it. Nebraska opponents in their 3 wins against ranked teams, Oregon, UCLA, and Illinois, are 19 of 90 from 3-point. That is 21% from behind the arc. Are you buying that it's just, all right, they have more energy now and they're closing out better, or is it just they've gotten a little bit of luck now?
I mean, it's a little bit of both. I mean, the defensive effort and energy has looked better in the last 2 games, but I mean, then it's so you got to find the balance, right? Like some of those shots that Illinois was taking on Thursday, I mean, those were tough. And I know Underwood tried to say, we got the shots we liked the shots. I'm like, some of those were not what you'd want to draw up or what I'd call good shots. But if you got, tough shot takers, you hope you have tough shot makers too. And it's a little bit of both. I definitely think that their defensive energy has been turned back up, and Fred Hoiberg has said that they had to find their identity. They had to turn it back on. Bryce Williams straight up said we had to wake up, and it's looked it has looked like more similar to that team, to the version of Nebraska that we saw in November and December. Not the one that was in basketball purgatory for 6 straight games.
Man, they won a game last night where they only hit 4 threes and they still scored 77 points. That's pretty impressive. That goes back to getting to the rim. But, I think Bryce and Juwan, what was ever going on there, it looks like they've made up. And they're now, this because you were a senior in that basketball program at one time. When you're getting towards the end and you're like, man, I don't want to go out this way and I want to be in the NCAA tournament, there is something that drives you. And I think both of those guys are like, okay, we're not going to let this be our legacy of just dropping the ball here. And so I think you're going to see that ramped up. Hoiberg is, the Energizer Bunny is going to be there the whole time. But there was something else really over the last 2 games. But as I watched him last night, explain to me who Raleigh Wooster is. Don't give me his background, his home life, anything like that. But I'm watching a guy last night, and he was a 25-minute guy. He had more confidence on both ends of the floor, I thought, last night. Did you see the same thing? And describe him to me, because maybe he's the temperature gauge of this basketball program, not number 3 or number 4.
Yeah, I almost made the comparison to the temperature gauge. He's definitely, he's saving probably the most interesting season of his basketball life for his last season in college. Just think back to when Nebraska first landed him out of the portal. Like, they have the true point guard. Look at his assist turnover ratio. Like, this is a guy that Fred Hoiberg hasn't had in terms of experience and just having a true point. He comes off the bench last night, and up until 2 late Connor Essegian free throws, he's the only bench point. He was the only bench point until Connor Essegian had those 2 late ones at the stripe. Raleigh, and another thing about that game last night, 3 guys on Nebraska's roster have played in that building before. A lot was made about, this is the first trip west or whatever, but you got the 3 Pac-12 guys on the roster, and Worcester, Mia, and Berke, who had all played there before, and they know how Oregon plays, and Raleigh ends up having a big game. But I think he's a good, the temperature gauge, he's a good, if you want to get a good read on how things are going, his body language, how he's playing, can be a good indicator. And I'm interested to see how his role continues to shift throughout the season. All 9 games left in the regular season, we've heard nothing but he's adjusted to it well. He's embracing it head on, and that's a good way to look at that. Is he's a good the measuring stick of get a read on the room. You can look no further than Raleigh Wooster.
Is Connor Essegian just a player at this point where you're just hoping he gets hot during the game and there's just kind of no inkling of consistency that you can really count on him other than him just hitting shots over and over again? Is that just where we're at now?
We're kind of there. We're kind of starting to feel that way. I have for a while. We've seen when it's on, what it can look like when then there's nights like last night where I don't even remember how many shots he attempted, but finished. I know. Yep, and he had the two free throws at the end to get him in the scoring column. But that's obviously the ideal recipe for Nebraska is he comes in and he's hitting outside shots, but they've found ways like last night to win when he isn't. But that's what he's on the roster for, is to come in, hit shots. They'll draw stuff up for him out of timeouts. No one will set a damn hard screen for him still to try to get him open. But I think that's kind of where we're at with him right now.
Was the key of just getting this season back on track just doubling down on Sam Hoiberg and just saying, all right, you're going to play 35 to 37 minutes a game now?
I don't know if it was the key, but it's definitely played a part. Sam has, the way his career at Nebraska has evolved, since in his, these last 3 seasons, it's pretty remarkable because, he, it's all the cliches, right? The coach's son, undersized. I'm not going to, go down the laundry list, but he's a genuinely really important player to this team just because of how hard he plays, the edge he has. He's a competitor through and through. There's the one cliche I'll use, but I mean, he plays so hard, and he's always making winning plays, and it's really important, to this team to have a guy who like gets the. It's like the meme, like if nobody got me, I know Sam Hoiberg got me. Like he's gonna be doing his job,
Sure.
what he needs to do, and I think he's gonna we still haven't had like a vintage like Sam Hoiberg moment, like when he had like that steal to end, like that wins a game directly, like that Maryland game a couple years ago. But I feel like one might be coming.
Hey, were you in Iowa City when Nebraska played over there?
I was not.
I was just curious. I was watching the Caitlin Clark retirement jersey yesterday, and I wonder how many people in practice, when they go over there, they shoot from her thing on the floor where she hit her record-breaking shot.
Yeah, I think we got a vlog from a certain Nebraska basketball player of guys on their team shooting from there, if I remember right. I think there was a YouTube or an IG reel of Nebraska guys shooting from there that was posted after Nebraska went to Iowa State.
I was watching the Iowa USC game yesterday. That was a huge win for the Iowa women. But I'm wondering how many people that go in there and shoot around, they will shoot from that logo.
I feel like that. I feel like you have to. I feel like it's definitely. I mean, I feel like that's definitely. It's the guys are usually. Guys will end shoot around with like half-court shots. To try to end on. You never want to end on a miss, obviously, but I feel like that's something. When you're doing your walkthrough, your shoot around, you gotta put one up from that logo.
Best team in the Big Ten right now, as of February 3rd, 6 weeks from Bracket Monday, is
Michigan State.
Whoa.
And I know that's not just because they're at the top of the standings. They have exceeded my expectations, but the thing with them is just how damn tough they are. I mean, for the fact that this was the first Tom Izzo team that to get through December and January without a loss, and I know they go on the road and they lose to USC. USC's kind of turning it up right now, and I don't know what their ceiling is, but I mean they've got too many like dudes who can beat you to finish in the cellar of the Big Ten. I still have faith in Michigan State. I just think Michigan State's tough. They can bully you on the boards. They've got the guard play that I like. And then they've got guys that can be so hot and cold, but I think Michigan State has the highest like ceiling of any team in the conference.
Tuesday is tomorrow night at Pauley Pavilion is going to be a banger. And Michigan State and UCLA.
I agree. I'll be looking forward to that one. But I still have faith in Michigan State.
Matt Painter would like to have a word with you. They might be in line to win another Big Ten regular season title.
Yeah, you hater.
No, I'm not. I mean, they're right up there too. And man, was that game a blast on Friday night at Mackey. That was way. I mean, they were 12-point favorites, and it ends up being a one-possession game. Trey Coffin-Wren just stuns Umar Ballo, and he puts his shoulder into him and hits that mid-range to win it for the Boilers. And Mike Woodson takes 2 timeouts with him, doesn't use any of them, and they had 2 timeouts at the end of the game, and I felt like I was Bryant Breaking Bad when he's yelling at Hank when he's in the car, like yelling like, "Woody, you've got 2 timeouts, you can't take them with you." But that game was fun to watch, and what's crazy about Purdue was, I mean, they were almost, don't want to say they were an afterthought, but they were almost forgotten about, like at the start of the conference season, because of some of the. I would never forget about Purdue and my favorite arena in the league, but they took their licks in non-con, but I'm not confused that a Matt Painter coach team getting better as the season goes on.
Hey, did you hear about what happened in the NBA?
I did, yes. I thought my phone was going to spontaneously combust on Saturday night because I was out and about, may or may not have been mid karaoke performance, and then my phone just exploded, and I'm just like, what in the world is going on? And I definitely was in the group that thought like Shams got hacked, or like, is he gonna have to like post like a hostage situation video to like prove it's real? And it was and it was very legitimate. And I am still in utter disbelief that went down.
It is the stupidest trade of all time. Again, are we in agreement?
It's pretty dumb. I'm more like them not like just putting out like a you guys have seen the John Wick movies, right? Like whenever they put the bounty on John Wick and they like read like John Wick excommunicado, here's the price. Like how is the Mavs front office like Luka Doncic excommunicado, open bids, let us know. Like how do you not like let that get going? And he ends up in LA. I think my favorite social media post I saw was that 77 Lakers jersey is about to go double platinum at every fraternity in America in the fall. That will be all over the place, but it's one of the more like head scratching deals in not just the NBA, but all of sports. I mean, a 25-year-old, for arguably already the second best player in the history of that franchise. And it was so insane that there were dudes bringing coffins to the arena in Dallas yesterday, just walking a coffin up the steps and saying "Rest in peace" to the Dallas Mavericks.
Are the Cowboys in there too?
Do you karaoke a lot on Saturday nights?
I was gonna ask.
Mm-hmm.
It may or may not have been a back-to-back weekend thing. Once in Milwaukee and once locally. It's kind of rare for me to get out. I don't know what has become of me since the calendar flipped. It's almost like you shed some stressors from your life, and you're like, I want to live a little. So who knows? Maybe that's just what we're doing right now.
All right, we'll see you at Winchester's on a Friday night.
Hell yeah!
Have a good week, my friend.
You guys too. Appreciate the time, like always. Have a good rest of the show and a good rest of the week.
That's Jacob Bigalow.
So Matt, are you two gonna go karaoke?
What do you think Bigelow's song is?
Didn't he reveal it?
Yes,
Did
he
he?
did.
A while
yeah.
back. Yeah, this isn't the first time we brought it up with him.
Gotcha.
Do you think
I
I'm
think he's-
sexy by Rod Stewart?
Oh, I thought he'd be like Jack and Diane. I think that'd be a good song for.
That's a little bit later.
He strikes me as a guy that later in life will have his own machine. He might even have.
He has his own
CPAP?
karaoke parties. Hey guys, come on through. We're having. I'm gonna grill some brats. We'll have some beers.
He's got that big binder. Look at how many options we have in our system.
Oh, if my buddy Jack is listening to the show, which he might be,
Shout out, Jack.
He took me to this old rinky-dink Lincoln bar, and we did karaoke there. And they had a binder, and they had papers, and they had an old lady up at the top step. And you had to go to the old lady, and I told her what song I was going to sing, and she goes, "Really?"
And that was.
I forgot.
Oh, I was gonna say
I
I'll
know.
defend your song.
No, I forgot what song it was, but good time.
Hey,
Straight out of Compton.
So Michigan State, UCLA tomorrow night. This is a monster week
Yeah.
for St. John's, by the way. Marquette and St. John's at MSG tomorrow. And then St. John's goes to UConn, and they're playing it at Gamble. They're not in Hartford. They're in the small
Really?
arena. Yeah, and then of course Marquette is at Creighton on Saturday.
Hey,
Could
the
be an
Big East,
interesting
man.
week this week for Big East basketball.
And then next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday is Dollar Beer Night.
Yep. And UConn takes on the Creighton Blue Jays.
And
I'll be there.
Liam McNeely
is going to be back.
will be back for UConn.
Matt will definitely.
That
be
was
there.
one of those
you gotta go.
when they said Liam McNeely won't be back for DePaul. I'm like, why would you bring him back for DePaul? Liam McNeely does not need to play against DePaul. And then they nearly lost, but they ended up winning.
Well, so they win at Marquette. They shot 65% in the second half, so that helped. But they turned the ball over 25 times.
Jeez.
Didn't Marquette shoot 20 more free throws?
Something like that. Stevie Mitchell
Yeah.
had a terrible game.
Yeah. I mean, so UConn wins that game on the road. Creighton goes to Philadelphia, and they're minus 12 in turnovers. They shoot, 57% from the free throw line. They were 23% behind the arc.
They went 23 of 25 on 2-point shots. It was absolutely ridiculous.
Hey, everybody wants to have the 3-ball. You know what? Just embrace 2 balls. Because look at Nebraska was 22 of 28 from 2-point range.
They scored 50.
3 might be more than 2, but 2 is productive. You can live with 2.
That's 44 points.
My song this is from Jacob Bigalow. My song last week, Pink Pony Club. My song on Saturday night, Just the Girl. I'm just a girl.
I would have paid $9.27 to see that.
I would sing,
That's a lot in
I would,
radio.
I would sing Scotty Doesn't Know for karaoke. I
That's
think that'd
okay.
be a great song.
Yeah.
I just sing college fight songs from now on.
Yeah, do you?
Yes.
I believe this too, knowing you
For
for a couple years.
Nebraska and the.
No. You'll learn, Rook.
I know. No, I know
Oh.
that's a sin. That's why I said it, guys. It's a part of the joke.
Papuchas. Papuchas. Look
I
at
know
Papuchas.
him. I just knew.
I knew him. I know a man named Papuchas. That's what people in the, that's what you consume around Lent, right before Ash Wednesday, is you get a little Papuchas. You go to Russ's in Lincoln and you get a Papuchas. They got it right there when you walk in.
Yeah.
Right there in the stand. It's
Johnny
the Papuchas.
Papuchas.
It's the
Sounds
Papuchas.
like a guy in good fun.
You're like, oh man, I like the filling inside of that Papuchas.
That's Johnny Two Balls Papuchas.
It's Gary Mann on 1620 The Zone. You're not good with time, are you? You're not.
We used to have 6-minute breaks. We don't anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I have to make my coffee. I haven't had one cup of coffee all day.
Yeah, it's been an issue today for poor Matt. Yeah. No, what do you say? No water, no
coffee.
cups.
The cups aren't anywhere. It's just
It's either this or a spoonful of coffee.
it's just this whole morning has been tough. It's been a tough morning. But we've been putting together great radio here on 1620 The Zone. You're listening to Gary and Matt. Look at that.
Corner back on track and My partner is not.
I was here. I was in studio. I was just pressing the button.
He was in the pool. Wait, that's wrong. Sorry.
I have not seen this after the Grammys last night. Where, first of all, why did they give Will Smith a speaking part? I mean, he physically slapped somebody on live TV, but yet he got a lot of run last night with a microphone in his hand.
It is I saw it yesterday and I go, why is this guy allowed to any award show after how embarrassing he was?
A minor.
Oh yeah. And then like Beyonce, first off, Beyonce winning best country album of the year. Guys.
Banger.
Guys. No.
She made a country album. It was successful.
Yeah.
No, I don't
country
care.
album.
And then she won the best album of the year too, overall. It's a joke. It's all a joke. All that stuff's a joke.
Damn.
LA's a joke.
I'm being
Hollywood's
replaced here as a
joke.
curmudgeon.
Grammys are a joke. All those people are criminals who do terrible things. We're all connected to actual criminals who do terrible things. It's all greed. It's all money. It's all a joke.
Wait till he rants about the Chiefs next Monday. Wow, you're celebrating, and I'm just here listening.
Wow.
It is.
Enjoy the whole crowd going, a minor.
That was funny.
It's
gonna be a rough 7 days for OVO.
Hey, I mean, when you do a diss track and it's become as one-sided as it has been, I'm looking for, because I like Kendrick Lamar. I can't say that I will die on the hill of him being the best, but he respects me. I respect him. I have not seen, because usually you get odds on what is the first song they will sing.
Oh yeah.
I have not seen it for Kendrick Lamar, because I'm guessing that the good majority of the people that watch the Super Bowl and will hang around for halftime and are still trying to figure out why is Kendrick Lamar singing at halftime or who Kendrick Lamar is, there will be very few songs that they recognize. Now, Not Like Us has been played and played and played. And if they let him do it, it's wop, wop, wop. But that means that Dr. Dre will introduce him. So I imagine he will have people that will be with him. But I have not seen.
I think he'll do Mad City, which is
as his opener. He may go with Humble, because that's somewhat recent. I mean, it's still.
Wouldn't that be a great intro though?
17.
Like a Pyros and Crips all got along. They probably got me down. Like that'd be a great. Like that'd be a good intro. That'd be
the
a
only
good
thing
start.
is that I don't think that's the common fan would
Mad
recognize
City,
that.
Mad City is good. Is big. It's not like his top stuff, but it's catchy enough and it's a great song and enough people know it.
That's why I said Humble, because you would hear the start of Humble and you go, oh, okay, I've heard that before.
Sure. That's a good point. Yeah, maybe. I don't think he's gonna do Levitate, because Levitate's like if you're a Kendrick fan, you love Levitate,
Yeah.
but I don't know how many people know Levitate to where it's like, and also too, I don't think Levitate would play well.
Probably not there.
No.
Well, that's because one of my favorite Kendrick Lamar songs is Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst. But it's a 12-minute track.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know that you could cut that song down and it would have the same impact that it has. One thing I appreciate about Kendrick Lamar is whenever you listen to Kendrick Lamar and an album, you got to listen to it front to back and don't stop.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, you can't like pick and choose.
Absolutely.
All right.
It's all because it's all correlated. It all comes together.
Well, it tells us like that story is a story of his upbringing in Compton.
How about DNA?
He'll do that.
That'd be a good one.
Because that's another one that people will recognize.
Maybe that one starts. That'd be a good one.
I hope he starts with Humble.
I think Humble and DNA are the top two.
All right, here is Rodney. Good morning, Rodney.
Good morning, Gary. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning.
Hey, why y'all bagging on Will Smith?
Come on now.
Come on now. We got a president that said he grabbed girls by their and convicted felon and all that kind of stuff, man. We got our priorities in the wrong place.
You're a Will Smith fan?
Yeah, I like his craft.
Okay.
Personally, I probably wouldn't like him as a person, but as far as his work, he's a pretty good actor.
Will you watch the Super Bowl halftime with Kendrick Lamar?
If I'm up, because a lot of times I fall asleep during the games.
Oh, that's right. You got weird work hours.
Yeah, but I like Kendrick. I like his first album.
Okay.
I like the skits in between the songs. It's pretty interesting. He's a nice artist, man.
And he's been at the craft for a while because his first album was 11 or 12, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So we're
Yeah, he's been at it.
he has.
I did have a question for you, Gary.
Mm-hmm.
Couple Saturdays ago, did Lincoln, Nebraska have a basketball game?
A couple of Saturdays ago, like Nebraska.
Yeah.
They haven't played at home on a Saturday
Yeah,
in a while.
No, the reason why I asked because my son he plays for Holy Name, and
Okay.
in between, I mean, the next game coming up is probably was 7th or 8th graders.
Okay.
And they had a kid that was about close to 7 foot tall, man. and I seen somebody look like Nebraska's coach in the stands, man.
I don't know if
I don't. I'm looking through him right now. I do not.
Was he any good?
Yeah.
I didn't watch that game. My son's game was over.
How's your son doing, by the way?
Oh, he had a pretty good game yesterday.
All right.
He does pretty good. He's just been getting in trouble in school a little bit, man.
You got to take care of him there.
I think it's the peer pressure type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, other kids joke around. He jokes around with them and stuff.
Hey, you'll get him set on the straight. He's got your DNA. He's going to be a hell of an athlete.
Yeah, but I was a jokester in school, so that
But is he going to play football or basketball, Rodney?
I don't know.
I mean, you don't have to make up a decision now, but
he likes soccer.
Okay.
He likes soccer. He likes basketball. We didn't do we did flag football this year, but no tackle football yet.
All right, for a dad that was a football guy, are you going to let him play football?
I don't know, man.
Oh no.
It's but it's changing.
Yeah,
You see how
the numbers have gotten better, Rodney. There were less concussions this year in like the last 10 years in the NFL. I mean, things are getting more safer for sure.
Yeah, but at his age group, in some of the teams they play for, they probably really don't stress that stuff as much as once you get to high school.
Sure.
Yeah.
So he could probably get concussed before he gets to high school, you know?
Yeah, I'd be
and up here, they don't have junior high school football.
Yeah, that's we got to work on that. Rodney, thanks for the call.
All right, man.
All right, good to hear from Rodney. Here is official K-Dot enjoyer.
Yeah, you both are wrong.
Thank you.
The first song that he plays in the Super Bowl, Mr. Kendrick Lamar,
yes,
is going to be Whacked Out Murals. That's the perfect song to start with. He obviously has older music, but GNX is the album that he is currently in promotion of right now. And we love a good cycle.
Yeah, there's just too many
I get
ones.
what you're saying.
There's too many good ones. I mean, he's got a whole... I don't know if there are that many artists like Kendrick Lamar who could play like a full set and it's full bangers, you know?
It's all about LA for him right now.
Yeah.
And there's nothing more LA than the Grand National. Have a good day, guys.
Yeah.
That's a good call.
All right, so he's got, 12 minutes?
He's got... let me look that up. I feel like, I mean, it depends. Like, there are ones that were really, really long. There are ones that haven't been as long. What is the average time of Super Bowl halftime?
I thought I remember Coldplay had this discussion about they had to fit their music into 12 minutes.
Shows last around 12 to 15 minutes.
Okay.
Because, like, Justin Timberlake, I'm pretty sure his was, like, long. Because he like went throughout the entire, like he sung in the entire stadium.
Like, look at Bruno Mars. Like, Bruno Mars is a performer.
Oh yeah, that was nice.
Like he like it was quick.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like he transitioned from one song to another, and you know they weren't doing changes and all that kind of stuff.
Beyonce walked from one end zone onto a stage, nearly fell down, got back up, and then just put her hand around Chris Martin for the next 8 minutes, and that was her Super Bowl halftime.
Many have.
Beyonce's performance on Netflix in the Houston-Baltimore on Christmas Day,
better than
that halftime
Texans.
performance, that might be better than the halftime performance or the Super Bowl.
I didn't watch it.
She came in on a horse.
Cool.
Post Malone was in it.
Shout out horses.
I like Post Malone.
Don't like Beyonce.
No.
No Beyonce. Yes,
No
on
Beyonce.
Post Malone.
No, yeah.
Everyone's out on Carl Malone.
Once you went country, you're like, I'm out.
No, I just think in general, just that whole, just
Oh, that's right. You don't like anybody in Hollywood.
I just think the whole, like, I don't want to get too far deep into the weeds, but
No,
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 I'm
it's
not a
okay.
fan. I'm not a fan of Beyonce. I'm not a fan of Beyonce. I'm not a fan of Jay-Z. Not a fan of Kanye. Not a fan of that whole
P.
congregate.
Diddy.
Yeah, so that, like, them being
Oh, that kind of started.
that kind of screwed it all
Thanks.
up.
You
for
were
me.
with
Kim should have worn a blanket.
You were with P. Diddy until he was with others.
No, I was just like,
Baby oil.
those two are very powerful, and they're connected to a lot of just bad people, and I just,
You
I'm not a fan of
I
that.
get that. You got standards. You don't like bad people.
Like like some people are like separate the music from the artist.
Yeah.
And I get, like, I can listen to old Kanye and old Jay-Z because I like those songs, but in terms of consuming new Kanye and new Jay-Z and new Beyonce, I can't separate that because they're just not great humans. Just plain and simple. They're connected to a lot of bad things. So I'm not a fan.
Stick with Peter, Paul, and Mary, and you'll never go wrong.
Well, that's
Do Taylor Swift next.
I love
Is she
Taylor.
bad?
That's the thing. Do I love Taylor Swift's music? No, not exactly. But my thing is, like, she's super talented. She's an incredible writer, and she's a good human. So, despite the fact that I
Puts on
think
a
that
good
a
show.
lot of her songs sound pretty similar, and it's not my cup of tea, I'm never going to be like, I'm not a fan of hers. I like her. I wish nothing but the best for her.
I hope she's celebrating this time next Monday.
If my bar is low, if you say please and thank you, I'm going to find a way to root for you.
Okay, hold on, real quick here.
Now you're going to put me in a corner.
No,
That's baby.
I'm just gonna. I'll rattle off some performers who have some legal cases against them, and you rank if they stay. Like Snoop Dogg.
Meh.
Okay.
Meh.
Tupac.
See, I wasn't around, wasn't born, just kind of know the music. I know some of the stories in the background.
Freddie Gibbs.
No.
Gucci Mane.
No, I like Gucci Mane.
Very good.
Young Boy.
No, I don't listen to that type of music.
Oh.
Like, ask me about Zach Bryan because I'm not a big Zach Bryan fan anymore.
Lil Mosey.
No,
Okay.
I don't listen to this type of music.
I believe he's facing life in prison.
Oh,
Or
I
he
don't.
might
I
already be
don't.
in
I don't
prison.
listen to any of these guys.
Hurricane Chris.
No, is this what you listen to?
This is like
There's a
hardcore.
list.
That's like hardcore.
I don't know. No.
Okay.
I don't listen.
All right.
I
You're
don't
yeah. I like hardcore. You like softcore. I get it.
I wasn't a
We all
big
have
fan when
preferences.
Morgan Wallen threw a chair off the roof of
Johnny
a bar in
Cash had legal
Nashville,
trouble.
You know?
Well, I think there was probably something before that may have not made you a Morgan Wallen fan than a chair coming off the top
That
of
is
a
a
bar.
great point. That is a
All right.
great point. Thanks for the save there.
All right. 39 past the hour.
None of these singers are really that great of people. You know, it's hard to root for them.
Wow.
My man was at the old Forum in Inglewood last summer when he went all in on this song with Dr. Dre, and he played it 5 straight times with LeBron and a bunch of celebrities.
DeMar was up there.
Yeah. 5 straight times. He'll be the halftime performance. I'm sure the older set will take this really well.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
why is Kendrick Lamar performing at the Super Bowl?
No, this is.
Where the Gaither's not available.
I can't believe
We are the world. I heard Stevie Saturn Sunday night. Bring him back. By the way,
Where's Toto?
did Stevie say I can see?
I don't.
Controversy.
I don't know, man. It's big
Gary-
controversy.
Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. Play me some Money Trees. Bring out J-Rock. Thank you. This is not Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, I thought
That's okay. That's okay.
I think Mad City is my favorite Kendrick Lamar song. And I think Mad City was probably one of the very first like rap songs I like loved and listened to.
News out of Knoxville that affects Lincoln, Nebraska. Mike Eckler coming home, the pride of David City, back after 3 years in Lincoln, way back in the day. Boy, now things are a little bit different from 08, 09, and 10.
Ha! Yeah.
A couple of guys playing defense that are no longer around back in the day.
A little different.
But Mike Eckler is returning to Nebraska as he has left Tennessee. He'll be the special teams coordinator at Nebraska. So we'll see how long before Nebraska puts out a release, and then we see what the salary is. But Nebraska's playing some big boy football. They spent money on an interior offensive lineman, and now they're spending money on a special teams coordinator that is well worth it.
Does he have any? I don't think he's got any connections to Rule. This is just,
I don't believe so.
This is just simply
back to Nebraska.
Mm-hmm. And that's the power of the end, man. Power of the school. I mean, it's just once you come here and you have a great experience here, you remember it. I mean, and that's not just from an athletics perspective. I think that's from my personal perspective. It's probably from your personal perspective too. It's just something about it. It's good for the school.
I wish I could meet today the person that came up with the Royal Rumble ticker. It has improved the experience greatly.
So I'm 50-50 on it.
Okay.
Fan of the ticker.
Mm-hmm.
Fan of the stats. Fan of like, that's interesting. It makes, because people are like, oh, it's fake. It makes it seem more sporty. It makes it seem more competitive. And that's really like a lot of the things you want to do psychologically for wrestling. Make it as real as you possibly can. Too big though. Like, can we slash it in half? Like, there were moments where it was just like, during the Women's Royal Rumble, I was like, this is taking up like a fifth of the screen. Or it felt like it. But big fan. Just make it like it was this.
Yeah.
Make it like this.
The other thing, the Royal Rumble isn't like what it used to be.
What did it?
It was
in
there
what
was
way?
more
'Cause
there was more activity.
Sure.
Like guys couldn't hide in a corner.
Yeah.
Like that has become the case. Now, they have more options for talent. Like they've never had this many options where they could not have some of the headliners and it would still be a banger of a Royal Rumble. But there was just more activity back in my day.
So
I was kind of disappointed in that until the end.
So a couple of things. First, it's incredible. The Royal Rumble used to be, oh my God, the Godfather's here. Oh my God, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Oh my God, Jake the Snake. Oh my God, like a nostalgia type piece where these guys would enter and they're not going to win, but they would enter. The roster now is so deep where they don't need to do that. They legitimately have 30 guys and a bunch of stories that they can build and create and progress through the Rumble, which I'm a bigger fan of than bringing in the old dudes.
Mm-hmm.
I think they ran into the problem of they didn't want to eliminate anybody. Like you had way too many good guys in the ring. They're like, all right, how do we get rid of these?
Everybody's
dudes?
a winner.
Everybody's a winner. No, at one point you had 9 Hall of Famers and Logan Paul in the ring. And you're like, who eliminates who, and how do you make sense, and how do you make sure that everybody gets their moment? If you go back to the 2001 Royal Rumble, where the two
Jim Ross's best Royal Rumble, by the way,
where the two biggest stars
Banger
were Matt
year.
Hardy and Jeff Hardy until Kane and The Rock and Stone Cold and Triple H all showed up. They had nobody there. They had crazy whatever. They had this guy named I don't know. I was watching it. Not Papuchas. The other day.
He gets around.
It was crazy. Scotty Too Hottie.
I remember him.
28. He was the number 28 entrance. Was Scotty Too frickin' Hottie? What are we doing? Wow. It's loaded now. They just can't throw these guys over the ring like they used to. They can't just like ragdoll these guys around because everybody's
so
a
I got to
big
see
deal.
Logan Paul jumping on a table and walking on the railing to jump back. I mean,
I got number 5 into my Royal Rumble pool. Got number 5. I was like, it is. I got it. I was sitting next to our friend Josh Odson, who's also a big WWE guy, and I told him I go 1 through 3, and then like 18 to 30. Anything between 3 to 7 to 3 to 16, 3 to 15, you're screwed. I got Santos Escobar was my entrant, and I was like, this has got to be the worst entrant that you possibly can get until Speed came out at number 9. You know who Speed is. So that guy came. Can you imagine paying $10 for that pool and then you got Speed who just gets broken in half by Braun Breaker?
But I am, we were talking about this off air. So John Cena, this is the last go around. I mean, isn't AJ Styles and John Cena the same age?
Yes.
So John Cena does look old, and he looked a little rusty, but he's gonna. I mean, they're setting something up for him. I think he'll become a heel, and then he'll go back to say goodbye, like in December. But Jey Uso, I like that he won because I'm a big fan. Here's a guy that got his name through tag team, and he's paid his dues, and I think they're going to reward him. I think he's going to be a winner at Mania.
I absolutely think he's going to be a winner at Mania. And then I think they're going to progress the story of Jay's a champion, but Roman isn't a champion.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the head of the table now? I'm the world champ, Oos. You're not the world champ. Then they can go back to that. I think with Jay, it's just like, and I was talking to some people about it, they can create so many stories with all these superstars that they can just write it where it makes sense. With Jay, I don't know if you can necessarily write Jay into a rivalry with one of these top guys that makes it make sense without him being a side piece. So him winning it puts him as a main character, puts him in a top spot. You manufacture that by having him win that. He just has to have a good match with Gunther. But I don't know. WWE is going to get exciting, man. They got a lot of talent, a lot of different ways they can go. But John Cena turning heel, I don't know if he'll fully turn heel. But he ain't going to be nice, peppy, happy-go-lucky-go John Cena. He is going to be, no. This is it. I'm here to win. And they've basically said, F you, Ric Flair. We don't care that you don't want your record to be broken. Someone's going to do it. Might be his daughter, who also won the Women's Royal Rumble, who is the greatest
Charlotte
women's
Flair.
wrestler ever.
The other part of this weekend, because it was in Indianapolis and they had a huge crowd, and, like Pat McAfee, again, probably acquired taste.
Yeah.
But he has done more for ESPN. Like, look what he's done to Game Day. But and it's kind of tied in because of his show. He talks a lot of wrestling on. He has a lot of wrestlers on. He has brought the world to Tyrese Halliburton. I mean, Tyrese Halliburton being in Indianapolis, he's on that show a lot.
Yeah.
Halliburton played earlier in the day and then all of a sudden is at the Rumble. Pat McAfee, his addition as an announcer has been a huge asset for WWE.
He's himself. He is himself. And he himself.
That's the world that watches his show before he ever became involved. Now, he has been involved in wrestling, but not to the extent that he is now.
Yeah.
I mean, he has delivered that audience.
He's like a living, walking WWE character. And like, that's just how he is. And he'll admit it. And it's it's genuine. Everybody likes genuine people. He's a genuine human.
Well, he's having
fun.
Time
he
of his
loves
life.
stupid stuff. He loves having a good time. Like, the guy has been a legitimate addition and prospect, not only just to wrestling, but to just sports media in general.
He's got an extremely loyal audience that will follow him anywhere. So they follow him to Game Day and they follow him to wrestling.
Yeah. When Triple H gets on a press conference in front of everybody, in front of the world, and says,
I did see that.
And I'm going to have he had a 3-minute soliloquy about just how important Pat McAfee has been to the company. That doesn't happen. There are wrestlers who are in the business for 35 years who don't get that amount of run from Triple H in front of a camera. Pat McAfee did.
You think Stephen A. Smith was just like boiling?
Oh, probably.
What would Matt's WWE finisher be? Probably
people's elbow.
I do a leg drop off the top rope. Do a nice little leg drop. Get the crowd into it.
See, y'all had a people's elbow the other night at Baxter.
We had a people's elbow.
Really?
I like the people's elbow.
Yeah.
We had a people's elbow in the locker room. Josh Crutchfield.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
I'm curious to see. They win on Thursday night. What they will do?
Can we get a Batista bomb?
We shared it on our social media. Sound like Eddie Vedder.
We'll work on that one. All right.
We got a lot to work
Crossover is coming up next. Enjoy your Monday. Who knows what will happen? We had a lot of news drops here in the first 2 days of February. News drop this morning. Mike Eckler's coming back. New special teams coach at Nebraska. I'm sure Connor and Josh will discuss that. And we'll have additional thoughts when we reconvene tomorrow at 6 for Matt. For Jimmy, I'm Gary. 1620 The Zone.